Hey, welcome back to the Crash Space Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's a Friday afternoon. We just uploaded a video earlier today, so maybe this is like pretty bad to bury the other content on the channel. But welcome. We're ahead of schedule. Mind you, we're running a Netrunner event tomorrow, but we have everything done, so we might as well, before we pull all this apart to get ready to film some stuff tomorrow in the Netrunner space, why don't we get a little good old game of Marvel Champions in, and that's what we're doing today. This is the totally new deck that I have just put together. It's Nick Fury, mind you. This is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, which just came out. We got it last weekend. We've been streaming a whole bunch of it last Sunday. I played through the other two scenarios, mind you, offline, and I played through the box already twice so far. Once with the pre-constructed Maria Hill, another time on Expert with a created Maria Hill deck, and then once with the pre-constructed Nick Fury deck. Now, the pre-constructed decks are totally fine. You can get through the standard difficulty, but if we're cranking it to Expert like we are now, you probably want to have something a bit more homebrewed, and this is a homebrew deck. This is Aggression Nick Fury. Now, the way Nick Fury works is actually super interesting. We'll obviously be going over that as we go through, but the idea is that we're going to have all these like aggression events that can scale really well when we can give them damage boosts, because what Nick Fury does is he plays like a spy, and so he is entirely invisible in his stealth suit for the first couple turns when you stay in there, and then instead of being attacked, you're schemed, the villain scheme and the enemy scheme. And then you generate this resource, which you can spend to make your attacks do more damage. So cards like 1x1 that say things like, this is very important to understand, mind you. Oh, give me 1 second. Let's grab this. Is that any card in Marvel Champions that is an attack card like this that says deal 2 damage to an enemy. If the attack defeats the enemy, deal 2 damage. So any attack event that does multiple instances of damage, if you boost that card's damage, you boost each instant of damage. So again, we'll go over this in a second, but Assault is the suit that we have. And Assault says, when you attack, remove up to 3 threat from here, and you put threat on there generally by being in the stealth mode. This attack deals 1 additional damage for each threat removed. So in theory, a card like 1x1, which only costs 1 resource, now does 6 damage. If that defeats an enemy, 6 damage. And that scales really, really well. So we have as many cards as we can. Well, not actually true, but we have a lot of cards that do extra damage. And then we have overkill on some of our stuff. And we have cards that care about doing excess damage to remove threat. And that's the short of the long, is that we're playing these attack events in aggression, and we're going to be popping off and doing extra damage. So we're going to be stealth, 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 big attack, stealth, 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 which is actually like really, really fun. So far, I found Maria Hill to be kind of not my thing. I think she's both pretty busted, but also kind of boring to play. We'll talk about that probably in another video, but Nick Fury has been super interesting, and I definitely want to be playing more, and that's what we're doing today. Another thing that's in this deck is Surprise Attack. And mind you, every aspect has a card like this that says, oh, you can only play it after you change forms. And normally, again, in Marvel Champions, you change form once per turn by flipping to Alter Ego to Hero, excuse me. But another thing that I only realized recently is that Assault Suit and Stealth Suit are forms, which means if you change from Assault Suit to Stealth Suit, which you can do, and changing back is a bit easier, that technically counts as a form change. So cards like Surprise Attack are pretty consistent, and we can fire them on mostly any turn. And of course, this works with our Assault Suit, so we're able to flip over and do suddenly like a burst of 7 damage for 1 resource, which is pretty buck wild. Now, this deck, entirely untested. It is 45 cards. Worth noting, the minimum deck is 40 cards in Marvel Champions, and you normally want to stick to that, particularly because some of your best cards in your deck are your hero cards. And for instance, there's one card in this deck that I think is better than every other card in the deck, which is our Flying Car, which is just so damn important. So while we could put some side schemes in our deck that allow us to grab upgrades from our deck, and we probably should, this is the thing that I'm worried about. So we're going to test it as is, and then eventually cut the deck down until it feels better, because Fury's Flying Car is like so important for the deck. And now it being 1 in 45 versus 1 in 40 obviously does not help us get this down as soon as possible. This card is just sick. Just a free ready every turn, which is functionally 2 threat every turn. Because whenever you thwart, you get a threat for this thing, and then it's just really good and goes forward from there. Okay, let me catch my breath. How's everyone doing? Just want to make sure everything's good. I think everything's good. Hopefully everyone's been well. I don't know. I always get like a bit concerned, worried, because one time chat broke and I didn't know, and I did a whole stream without like chat coming in, but we'll be fine. Cool. Now, I do have all the scans for all the cards as you're seeing now, but I don't have scans for any of the villain stuff and any of the encounter cards. So bear with me on that for sure. So we're going to just show you the cards that we're dealing with. Notably today, while we're playing on Expert, we're also not playing in campaign mode. I have only played so far Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in campaign mode. And if you play in campaign mode, you're meant to do scenario 1 through 5 in order. And then there's additional elements that are like meta elements that carry over your progress from scenario 1 all the way to scenario 5. And if you fail, the impact of failing catch you from scenario 1 all the way to scenario 5. I'll be honest, from what I've seen so far, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, I'm not actually sure what I think about it. I think I played through it like the first 3 times and I thought to myself, this actually might be one of my least favorite boxes, unfortunately. I think there's a lot of reasons why that is. I do think part of that was I was just playing Maria Hill, and Maria Hill kind of trivializes the game and makes you not play the game. So a lot of the things that the villains do, you just don't interact with, and that really kind of stunk. Then I started playing it with other characters, like I was playing with Aggression Nightcrawler that we've been doing other videos on the channel. Mind you, we've uploaded this morning. And I played, again, Nick Fury, and it was definitely more interesting. But overall, what I've learned, I think some of the villains just aren't doing it for me. I think the campaign mechanics, I probably won't be playing with them much. Specifically on Expert, I feel like the campaign mechanics are kind of tedious and really punishing, and not in an interesting way. We'll talk more about that probably in a later video or stream, but right now, I'm really not hot on this box so far. It might be my least favorite box we've ever seen, which is a bummer because the last box too had campaign mechanics I just ignored, but I think the box is fantastic without the campaign mechanics. This so far, the campaign mechanics I would ignore again, I think, but also I'm not sure if this is my thing. Yo, Tanuki, how's it going? I really should get back into Marvel Champions at some point. I played it a bit and just kind of stopped when school gets really busy. That's the thing I like about this game. Like, this stream is going to be maybe an hour and a half. And while obviously stream tech stuff is a thing, Lockmanos, it's more so I can pick up, play like 2 first 4. So good stuff. Okay, so M.O.D.O.K, the setup. M.O.D.O.K is one of these single moded villains. You either play B on Expert, A on Standard. Just to show you where we are. M.O.D.O.K has only 14 health, but hold on, we'll get it. But if you defeat it, he just like heals and you get a benefit from that. Retaliate 2 is pretty wild. So every time we attack M.O.D.O.K without a ranged attack, which I think we have a couple ranged attacks, we're going to take 2 damage back unless it defeats M.O.D.O.K. But you can actually defeat M.O.D.O.K because instead of M.O.D.O.K getting defeated, he reheals. So you're going to take Retaliate 2 forever. Steady is a trait, which means that you need 2 stuns or 2 confused statuses for that to cash in. So that means we can't stun or confuse lock M.O.D.O.K. And then M.O.D.O.K has text, which will make more sense in context soon, that says when we defeat M.O.D.O.K, we can remove 2 lock counters from a holding cell. Otherwise, if there are no holding cells left, M.O.D.O.K will be defeated. So again, we can defeat M.O.D.O.K, but in theory, we have to get all the holding cells down first. And then once we get the holding cells down, then we can defeat M.O.D.O.K for good. So we might only have to do 14 damage to M.O.D.O.K if we play our cards in a certain way. All right, side scheme, or main scheme, excuse me, upgrading adaptoids. We're playing with M.O.D.O.K B because we're on Expert. We're playing with M.O.D.O.K encounter set, standard encounter set, 1 modular encounter set called Scientist Supreme, which is an interesting encounter set. And then setup says create the holding cell deck. You see the rule book. Put 1 random adaptoid environment into play, 2 environments in play randomly when we're playing on Expert, which we are. And the others are set aside, and then reveal an adaptoid minion and put into play with you. So holding cell, there are 4 of these cards. And what's wild is that the backs are all different, but the fronts are all different too, as much as they mostly have the same text. So we actually technically know who we're going to save. And that's kind of our mission here, is to rescue people from the holding cells. So I'm just going to shuffle this together without looking, and I'll stop at a certain point. These allies you get from the holding cells when you break them free are busted powerful. And that's something I don't entirely understand with the scenario. With the scenario, the deeper you go, the easier it goes. And it feels kind of anticlimactic because once you have 3 of these rescued, you are just massively powerful, and some of them are just better than others if you ask me, and we'll see which ones show up first. So I'll stop now. Our top one is the Garza one. I keep getting this to be the top one. So this holding cell comes into play with 2 per player lock counters, so 2 counters, and forced interrupt. When the last lock counter is, we basically flip this, it becomes ours, and then we reveal the next holding cell underneath it, which will have 2 counters on it. Once we get through the deck of 4 holding cells, then we can finally defeat M.O.D.O.K for good. So that's obviously our goal here. But obviously when we get these, we're going to have a powerful ally. Now, this says at the bottom, hero action. We can either spend a wild resource or 3 resources of any type to remove 1 lock from here. I think a criticism I've seen so far of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box is there are so many cards that are just what I would call resource sinks, especially the campaign mode stuff. There are just so many cards that the way that you interact with them is just by spending resources from your hand or any resource generators you have on the table. That is totally fine as a mechanic, but it is not very exciting. And again, in so many of the scenarios, it's just resource sinks is the other thing you have to worry about. So it's the villain, minions, and just resource sinks on top of resource sinks. So kind of not particularly sexy or exciting. I usually like it when there's other ways to deal with it. And there are, mind you, if we defeat M.O.D.O.K, we take 2 locks off of it, which frees someone. And we'll see there's going to be minions engaged with us that also, when we defeat them, it removes locks. So we never have to do that technically, but it is very good to do it. And that's our goal. All right, we get an adaptoid into play, but first we're going to reveal some environments. So there's 4 of these, 1 for each of those things in the holding cell. And we're just going to randomly pick 2 of them, and we'll start from there. It's the scrolls up to see the channel is today. Hey, Brendan, how's it going? We saw some vanilla single game spoilers today, which is pretty exciting, that's for sure. So we're going to get the Sarah Garza upgrade, and we're going to get the Strong upgrade. So these are cards that are permanent environments. There's no way for us to interact with them. Normally, you'd only start with 1 on standard. Here, we're going to start with 2. And they just basically buff all the adaptoid minions, which are these minions, which will start with 1 in play. These are kind of flexible things that generate or gain powers based off how the board is going. And I think every time that we advance the main scheme, we'll get another adaptoid power. So we have to watch out because they get stronger, and eventually we'll lose the game if these keeps getting schemed out. All right, the first one is the Sarah Garza upgrade. Mind you, we are rescuing her first, so they have her powers. They gain the elite trait, which is not going to matter for our deck. And each adaptoid gets +1 attack, and his attack gains overkill and range. So +1 attack is important to remember because they just hit harder. Normally they only hit for 1, now they're hitting for 2. Overkill and range are probably not going to matter. I'm going to try not to forget that. So I'll grab overkill is going to matter, range is not going to matter. So do I have an overkill counter? Overkill is basically like a trample in Magic. So if it does extra damage, if you block with an ally, that damage goes to your face. So that's not great. And range just means its attack ignores retaliate, which our character has no access to retaliate. So that shouldn't matter. The other upgrade is just called Strong Upgrade, which says each adaptoid gets +1 attack, gains toughness. So toughness, the first instance of damage, they will just block. And so now they're attacking pretty hard at 3 attack. But luckily, when we're in our stealth suit, as you'll see in a moment, we don't care. And the brute trait on its own doesn't actually do anything, the same way the elite trait doesn't do anything. There just might be encounter cards that ask, that say like, oh, if it has a brute trait, do something. But inherently, it does not have any rules text. I'll just put those there so we can remember them, but I will remember them by keeping these tokens around. All right, next we reveal an adaptoid. Attacks for 1 and 1, but for us it's going to be 1 and 3. Has 5 health, and when defeated, we remove 1 all-purpose counter from an environment. Technically, holding cells in an environment. I don't know if there's going to be more in this scenario, but that text is there just so you can use adaptoid in other missions, which does show up. And it has 5 health. It's engaged with us. All right, that's otherwise is it. We have to shuffle the standard and expert, and then the rest of the deck, which is M.O.D.O.K cards and these Scientist Supreme cards, and we'll read the back of this. We get Neverwinter Tangents, the Marvel streams. It looks like it's going to happen. Like, there's no way it's not going to happen. Died to the end boss of Beneath Arrest last week. Knew I needed to tell you. Don't cross the streams. Do you know which end boss it was and which character you're playing? Because there's a whole bunch of different end bosses, and I feel like I also have a better win rate on some over the others. I'm just going to pile shove this really quickly. Again, apologies. I don't have any of the art for any of the villain or encounter cards, but I can show up just like the Fury's card that's just going to be sitting there. I've also realized I'm going to keep always a card in that space underneath my face. I have no reason to clear it because it's just like blank space. So if the card floats there for a while, that is how it is. Okay. Another thing I noticed, and it's not that bad, but it feels like the encounter decks are bigger in this than in Age of Apocalypse. That might be incorrect, but the final encounter or the final villain in this box, the encounter deck is so damn big. And I don't think I like that. I think the bigger the encounter deck, the least like consistent it is. And that is just not my favorite thing. So it's weird. It feels like the first box they put out, the encounter decks were super, super big. And then they realized make them thinner and thinner. So the decks are more consistent and you can tell what they're going to do. But especially in campaign mode, it kind of goes the opposite way, which I don't entirely love. All right, our 1 main scheme. Focus, please. It comes in with 1 threat, gets 1 per turn, and 7 will advance it. It says when the stage would be completed, put 1 random set-aside adaptoid environments to play instead. Then if there are no set-aside adaptoid environments, the players lose the game. So because there's 4 and 2 are in play, that means that we can only let this advance once. The second time it advances, we will lose the game because we add the 4th environment and then the game is over. So we can't let the scheme out, but we don't want to. But if we have to, we will. It's fine. 7 is pretty low. It's actually going to be difficult for us to play Nick Fury. This might be a hard encounter set because, mind you, M.O.D.O.K schemes for 3, and we're going to be letting M.O.D.O.K scheme for a lot because in our stealth suit, everybody schemes against us. So this actually might be a bit brutal. We'll see how bad it is for us. Otherwise, remove all threat from here and shuffle each adaptoid minion from the counter discard pile back into the deck, so the adaptoids will keep coming back. I think that's kind of cool. And then that's it. It's all us. Zero memory. I know it had the one more turn I would have won, but that's life. IP Enforcement isn't a vanilla as I expected most of the new cards to be. IP Enforcement as like a constant threat that NBN can put off, it seems relatively fair, right? Because it costs money and it removes the tags, which I'm such a big fan that it removes the tags. It also, like, it's not exchange of information. It puts the agenda on the table, which means like you still can run it as the runner as much as they can fast advance it. It's trashable. Like, it's kind of interesting as a like powerful baseline, but I honestly don't know how clumsy it is because so far there's only one card in the game that gives enough tags for that to be relevant text, and it's Oppo, and Oppo's pretty expensive at 7. And then you have to pay like 3 more credits to fast advance and clear 3 runner tags. I just can't tell how easy it is to put people in like in tag hell. Yeah, this actually might be a hard scenario for us. M.O.D.O.K scheming for 3 is pretty rough. We'll see how this goes. All right, so we're playing Nick Fury. Our alter ego, normal stats, so 10 health is okay. Setup, we put our suit into play, assault side face up. Our suit has 2 sides, assault and stealth. In assault, we do more damage. In stealth, we cannot be attacked. Instead, everybody schemes, but we eat some of that threat. So that's nice. Full recovery is cool. And action, change the stealth suit form, infiltrate. Mind you, there's not that many ways to change suit form. The only way to do it on demand is actually an alter ego, which can be a bit tricky. In theory, you're going to get schemed on a lot, and it's better if they scheme on you in hero form because you'll eat some of that threat for sure. Just to go over the suits, assault suit. This is the side we stay on, and it doesn't do anything, technically. It says when you attack, remove up to 3 threat from here. So we have to find ways to put threat on our suit itself. And then if we do have threat on here, we can remove up to 3 to make the next attack we do deal additional damage. Now, again, that can be the basic activation attack, but also an attack event. And of course, if you play an attack event that does multiple instances of damage or attacks multiple characters at once, that boost to this will impact all numbers on the card itself. So a card that says deal 3 to every character, which we do have in the deck, will now deal 6 to every character, which is huge. Now, the backside of this, which we can flip over immediately, is the stealth suit. And this text is really neat. It says, as a forced interrupt, so you have to do this. When an enemy would attack you, it schemes instead. And then you get to place 1 threat from that activation here instead of on the main scheme. I think that's an interrupt. So if it hits like 7 of 7, we don't wait for it to hit 7, then takes 1 away and goes down to 6. I think we do it immediately. So if M.O.D.O.K schemes for 3, we'll put 2 on here, 1 on here at the same time. Now, you can only do that if there's 5 or less threat on this card. 5 or less, so technically 6 is not good, but 5 is good. That's very important, which means we can't really stay in stealth suit forever. We're really interested to flip back and forth, because as long as we're in stealth suit and we have less than 5 threat on it, technically everybody schemes for -1. So in theory, the Adaptoid schemes for 0, because the Adaptoid currently schemes for 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So instead, it just goes onto our suit, which is kind of cool, as long as, again, we have 5 or less on our suit. Now, the other side of Nick Fury is worth keeping in mind. Our hero form has some good text. 2/2/2, really good. 10 health, 5 hand size, that's normal. And we have 2 responses, or a response and a force interrupt. Gather Intel says after Nick Fury makes his a basic thwart, place 1 threat on your suit form upgrade. So if we're thwarting, we're just powering up our suit automatically. That's sick. And break cover, when you're attacked, we're forced to jump into assault suit. So this stream is called L'Étranger, which is not only the Albert Camus novel, but it is one of the guns. It was a handgun or a revolver you could have in Team Fortress, because this plays to me like the TF2 spy, where we're going to spend most of the game in stealth suit until we pop out, do a lot of damage to a lot of things, destroy some stuff, and then we'll pop back into stealth. So this really encourages you to do it. I think this is a really cool design. And so far, I like Nick Fury a lot more than Maria Hill, as much as there's a bunch of moving elements in this deck that don't seem entirely well tuned. Like, there's some preparation stuff, there's some tech stuff, there's a bunch of attacks, and it feels like the deck is doing a bit too much. There's like 1 or 2 cards that I don't really care for, but otherwise that is the name of the game. And it's a lot of, it's cool. It's definitely very interesting, especially because the whole like stay in alter ego form and keep enemies in front of you and they don't do anything. I might be on the team that stealing from the runner square should probably be tough to make work and good for the game. Yeah, I agree. It's not exchange of information, but you still are just putting it on the table, which means they can't just run it, and you just did clear a couple tags for them. That's kind of nice. Nick Fury having an alter ego seems odd. He's the kind of guy that's always on duty. That's actually a really big thing, though, is you notice his alter ego doesn't have a name. Like, he's just Nick Fury. I'm not sure if this is meant to be a Frozone reference too. I think some people said that with the suit and the surfing. But yeah, he's just Nick Fury all the time, which is great. TF2 spy talk, totally. All right, let's draw some cards. So we're gonna start here. Again, we want to get cards off the holding cell. First card is Psylocke. We've played a whole bunch of this. It's expensive, but she confuses, which is not bad, as much as M.O.D.O.K has steady eye patch camera. Okay. So similar to a bunch of the other spy characters we've seen, we have preparations. And preparations are usually upgrades you play that pop off under a certain condition if you want them to. Mind you, this is not a forced interrupt. So the eye patch camera, which is cool, some, spy stuff, says when any amount of threat will be placed on the main scheme, discard this and place up to 3 threat instead on your suit form. So not only is that technically at instant speed stop 3 threat, as long as you're in hero, which is not bad at all for 2 cost, it also puts it on your suit, which is a valuable resource as much as, again, you want to be on 5 or less on the suit. Angela, this is aggression ally. She's pretty cool. And the cool thing about Angela is she's free, but she forces you to search the top 10 to find a minion and put into play with you. In theory, any minion that only schemes for 1 does nothing, and we don't care about it. And I was actually going to build a Nick Fury deck that cared about keeping minions in front of you and then putting attachments on them and benefiting from that. Because again, if it has just 1 scheme and we have room on our stealth suit, it doesn't do anything. And then we can pop up and blow them up by using a big attack. We might not keep her, mind you. Covert surveillance. I think we have 3 of these in the deck. This is a very important card. I spelled it wrong, but I found it. Says hero action, thwart, remove 2 threat from a scheme. And if you're in stealth suit, you may put that threat on your suit form upgrade, which is quite nice. But also this is how you can change to stealth suit. So if you ever find yourself in hero mode and you're stuck in assault suit, this is the one of, I think, 5 cards in your deck that allow you to jump back to stealth, which is super, super valuable. As much as 1 for 2, like spending 1 resource for 2 thwart is like not particularly good. And finally, Professor X, not finally, but Prof X is good. That's for sure. Everyone loves Prof X. Nice to have some good, important thwarting and some confuse. And then into the fray, which you probably saw this if you've been watching our, what's his name? Our Nightcrawler deck, because into the fray does 6 damage. And for every excess point of damage, we remove threat from the main scheme. And in theory with Nick Fury, this seems like such a good card because we can make it do 9 damage and then clear the threat, which they'll definitely be threat because we're in stealth mode. Okay. Whenever you say minions, I think of those little yellow boomer Facebook memes. Les mignons. Okay. I think this is the thing. So minions is French, right? Like from the studio in France. And in French, mignon means like cute. Like that is the term for a cute thing, a mignon. Which is kind of like a pun that I don't think got translated super well, but the more you know. All right, I want to play Psylocke turn 1. A covert surveillance doesn't do much turn 1 because there's, again, very little threat on the table. Prof X, mind you, M.O.D.O.K has confused, and we don't really need to do 2/3 threading. Into the fray, not very useful. We could keep Angela to go get an enemy, and then have a 2 attack to start working on the Adaptoid. That might be fine, and Eye Patch Camera is also okay. I feel like aggressively mulliganing for our flying cars, right? Again, our deck is a bit bloated, and that's one of our best cards in our deck. But Eye Patch Camera is pretty nice safety against M.O.D.O.K, and Angela might not be the play. I don't know what the allies in this deck are. There's like some scientist allies, which are a bit annoying, so maybe we'll just get rid of that and try and go for some of our better stuff. All right, Safe House. This card kind of has felt underwhelming to me. I have almost never used it as Alter Ego, and we don't want to spend a lot of time in Alter Ego. We can either heal 2 damage or place 1 threat on your suit form upgrade. Those feel so marginal. I don't really care about this card, but we have it. Looking for Trouble. This is a cool card. Not so much this turn, but again, if we're pretty good at dealing with allies because they thwart for generally only 1 or 2, which we can mostly neutralize. This allows us to discard until we find an ally, which has an impact. I kind of like Angela better, where it's a look at the top 9 for an ally or top 10, because this you can rip through like 9 or 10 cards of the deck until you find an ally, or sorry, a minion, and then the deck cycles pretty quickly. It's a bit rough. Concentrated Fire. This is one of our ranged attacks, and this does up to 4 damage. We can make it up to 7 damage, and if it kills something, we can either remove some scheme or jump back to stealth form. A second one. And the EM Shield, which is a tech card that says we block all incoming damage for a single attack, which is not bad. Not that M.O.D.O.K hits very hard. Okay, so we got no good setup cards, which is a bit of a bummer here, so I'm not sure what we want to do. We're definitely going to flip our suit over to the stealth suit, because I don't think we're going to be attacking this round. Actually, we probably can attack this round, but if we attack this round, we're stuck in assault suit unless we concentrated fire down the Adaptoid. The Adaptoid technically is helping us because if we keep the Adaptoid up, it is actually giving us stealth counters instead of actually scheming, which is kind of nice. We could go ahead and looking for trouble, but that's not that great. This hand sucks. I think we'll just set up with our cards, our preparations, and call it a day. So we can block and we can do anti-3 thwart. I think that's probably it. I'm not sure what else we would want to do here. Because Concentrated Fire does up to 4 damage, which won't defeat the Adaptoid. Safe House is a bit of a nothing burger, so I think we'll just pay 4 for these 2. So again, one of them, when you would take any amount of damage, don't. And the other says when any amount of threat will be placed on the main scheme, don't. We'll flip up here, or not even don't, put on your suit. We'll thwart for 2, so we clear this, and 1 thwart goes onto our suit, and I think that's all we're going to do here. So we'll drop back up. This card is sick. This card is really, really good. This is intelligence analysis. And it's a 0 cost preparation that just says interrupt whenever you want when you reveal a treachery. And this is not when you're going to reveal, it's actually when you reveal the card, so an encounter card. You can discard analysis, remove a threat from your suit, and just cancel the effect of the treachery. That is just busted powerful. Just saying treachery card no is so good, especially because this card is 0 cost, so it's really easy to get it recurring and do some really good work for you. Martial Prowess, this generates a resource a turn for an attack event, and we have a lot of attack events. Oh, that is huge. We found the car. Sick. So we need to get this down, guaranteed, because it gives us a ready every turn, which means we can thwart 4 every turn. It means we can thwart into an attack. This card's obviously very, very good. Another covert surveillance, which we'll definitely end up using. And then finally, we have practice plan. This is another new card that came out in the set, which is super important for anybody who cares about preparations, because it says after you discard a preparation card you control, discard this, and mind you, it's an upgrade you install, to add that card that you just discarded to your hand, which means I can fire intelligence analysis twice. It also technically just means you have a +1 hand size on a following turn, which really matters. Now, this unfortunately is max 1 per player. It might be good enough to play 3 copies of it because we have so many really good preparations that are one-time shots. I'm only running 2 and just trying to see how many times that we draw into one while we have one on the table, how quickly we can use them, because it is a bit situational, but just a very, very powerful card. All right, we put 1 here on upgrading Adaptoids. Now, M.O.D.O.K is going to attack us, but because we're in stealth suit, again, M.O.D.O.K can't attack us. So the stealth suit says, specifically, when an enemy would attack you, it schemes instead. Place 1 of the threat here instead. So M.O.D.O.K is scheming for 3 in a card. This is 5. That's a lot. So that would be 4 on here. And then we would put 1 on the stealth suit. I think that might be okay. We could always use the eye patch camera to cancel that and take all the stealth credits, but then we'd have 5, and then we could like pop up and blow up the Adaptoid maybe. We don't have any damage in our hand. So I'll keep the eye patch camera for later, and we'll just do this. So M.O.D.O.K schemes for 5. So this says place 1 threat from that here. So instead we put 4 on here, so this goes to 5. Now, Adaptoid would scheme, but it schemes for 1 and just for 1. And this again says that place 1 threat from here when an enemy would attack you. And because we're here, it would attack us. Instead, we just put 1 here, which is quite nice. Now, if this gets 2 more, we're in a bad spot, but that's where we're going to use eye patch camera for a panic if we need to. Our encounter card is Evil Alliance. Oh no, that's never good to draw super early. So it looks like we're going to be running into our Nemesis. This just says each Nemesis minion in play activates against you. If there's none, just put 3 threat on pursuit by the past. When this hits its 4th counter, we get our Nemesis, which is not bad, not good to get that early, but at least we didn't draw a real encounter card. And it's back to us. So this is what happens. You just get threaded on really hard every turn. Notably, I didn't check if we had, oh, that shouldn't go there. If we had any resources to deal with the holding cell. I think we definitely want to only have 5 on here. The problem is if we thwart, if we attack, we can do 5 damage. So we have to figure out how to get off the Adaptoid. I don't think that's that big of a deal. So here we have only 5 cards. We want to play the car. And we probably just play these 2 cards because they're super cheap. We could also do covert surveillance to remove the 2 threat from this. I don't think we will. We'll just play the cancel and encounter card. And then we'll play the, so this has a counter. And then we'll play the, when you discard a preparation, add it back to your hand. So that costs nothing. And we'll pay 2 for the Fury's flying car. I feel like Nick is going to be a bit tricky to play because the play patterns and understanding when you're at 5 and what the breakpoints are kind of really big. So Nick will thwart for 2, which drops us to 3, and then we put 1 on his suit. Now we can use the flying card that says exhaust the flying card, remove a threat, and then we ready Nick, which means we can thwart again and put this back to where it was on turn 1. That's fine. So we'll just thwart for 2, which puts 1 here. Pretty fiddly, but we're getting somewhere. We have 3 really good preparations, and I think we just pass. So we're going to be drawing up. We have specialized training. So this is a side scheme that if we complete it, we can go get a preparation card, and our preparation cards are these cards you can't add to normal deck building, and they're very, very good. Now this has 5 threat on it, which might be a lot. We're actually not that good at dealing with threat. We've lost, I think, 2 covert surveillances so far. We'll see if we get better at it, but that's a card we definitely want to at least put on the table and have a chance to work on it on off turns. 1 by 1. This is the good card we talked about before. Mind you, this boosts pretty heavily with Nick's ability. And so this can do 2 damage, or the way we can set it up is 5 damage, as long as it defeats an enemy, which might be an okay thing to do to M.O.D.O.K after we take the threat or the toughness off the Adaptoid. 3rd covert surveillance, so that's 2 threat. Fury's Watch. Ooh, another very important card. So we haven't been punished by the inconsistency of our deck. This is a resource generator that generates 2 resources per turn, which is incredible. However, you have to take that as threat off of your stealth suit, which is actually good because you want to keep your stealth suit on 5. But that's a very, very good generous card because we need resource generators. This deck doesn't have a lot. And the last card we have is Keep Up the Pressure, which another player side scheme. And Keep Up the Pressure says that when we defeat it, which is only 2 threat, which we can do basically on every turn, we can go search our deck for an attack event, add it to our hand, and every attack event does 1 additional damage, which means actually if we clear that, 1 by 1 we'll do 6 into 6, which is technically nice. But a lot of our AoE abilities scale really well with Keep Up the Pressure, the same way that it does with the stealth suit. Okay, that's us. This goes up to 2. M.O.D.O.K is going to scheme for 3 in a card. It would attack, but we're in stealth mode. So 3 in a card, that's 5 again. So thinking 5, it means it will advance, but we actually don't do 5. We go to 6 because we put 1 on our stealth suit. We could use our eye patch camera, but then the Adaptoid will actually scheme. So I don't think we do. So that is again 3, 4, 5. Oof, M.O.D.O.K schemes for a lot. This is maybe not sustainable. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll put 4 on here. So this goes up to 6. And then we put 1 on our stealth suit. Then the Adaptoid would attack, but instead it schemes. And because we're at 5 or less, we put that 1 of that threat here. So now we're at 6. So now our ability doesn't work anymore. And we're hoping we don't get an encounter card that advances. It's alive. Oh, I can't show these. I was trying to search for it. So it's alive when revealed. Each player searches the encounter deck for a discard pile for an Adaptoid minion and reveals it. Deal each player who did not engage a minion away face down counter card. I think that's actually kind of fine for us because the Adaptoids don't do much. And technically we have AoE attacks, and AoE attacks could hit multiple of these in the same time. So again, all of these have 3 attack. They have overkill, they have toughness, and 5 health. So we definitely want to kill 2 of them. And if we kill 2 of them, we actually could take 2 locks off of the holding cell. And I think we have a turn here to pop off. We could have canceled that, mind you, and got a card back with intelligence analysis, but I think we're in an okay spot. So now we have to take 2 toughnesses off, and I think we're very capable of doing this. This is actually going to be a sick turn. The only thing about this turn, which is a bit tricky, is that we might end up in assault mode, which means, there's a lot of threat there, actually. Yeah, in hindsight, maybe removing 3 threat was right. But we can always do this before it's going to advance next round, so I think we're okay here. Oh, yeah, we have to covert surveillance maybe to go back to hero mode, or to stealth mode. Potentially. Okay, so we're definitely playing 1 by 1. I think we're going to have to play our Fury's Watch. So we'll pitch 1 for Fury's Watch, which is our resource generator. I'll put it up here. There's no rules how this works. We don't have a lot of minions in our deck, or sorry, allies. So our preparations are going to be most of our powerful cards. Now we can attack for 2, which will take this toughness off. Then we'll ready with the flying card. Oh, when we attack, mind you, we have to go into assault mode. So we have to flip up. Again, that's an interrupt on Nick Fury's hero card. It says when you attack, you're required to change the assault form. Then we'll remove 1 threat from our suit to ready Nick, and then Nick will attack for 2 more, taking this tough off. Now, we will spend 1 resource from specialized training to play 1 by 1. And 1 by 1 says deal 2 damage to an enemy. If that attack defeats the enemy, deal 2 damage to the enemy. So we'll use our assault suit, which says when you attack, and mind you, this doesn't have to be a basic attack. We can remove up to 3 counters, which we will. So now this attack does 5 damage and it defeats an enemy 5 damage. So we defeat an Adaptoid and then defeat this Adaptoid. And each Adaptoid says after this, when defeated, remove 1 all-purpose counter from an environment. So we'll remove 2 from holding cell. And now we get our first busted ally. This is Sarah Garza. Does not count against your ally limit. 5 health. Attacks for 2. Thwarts for 2. 1 consequential. But Sarah's attacks gains overkill and ranged, which means because she has ranged, she doesn't take retaliate 2 from M.O.D.O.K, which is incredibly important. The next holding cell we reveal and has 2 counters on it. And this is the, I'm not sure which this character this is. This character is really good at unlocking people, I believe. And so to get a counter off of this, it's 2 science icons, or I think they're called that. Mental icons, I think they're called, or 3 resources. So we have to keep in mind we can always do that and just rush out the allies, or the minions. Allies, excuse me. But yeah, that'll probably be pretty good for us if we get there. Okay, so we have this covert surveillance left. So we can decide if we play it, we can choose to remove 2 threat. If you're in stealth suit form, you may place it on the threat. Otherwise, you may change to stealth suit. So we can always get 2 threat out, and then we can jump to stealth suit. If we jump to stealth suit, M.O.D.O.K will scheme against us instead of attacking, and then we can put that threat back onto our suit. Otherwise, we can just be attacked for 1 in a card with M.O.D.O.K, which is not bad at all. Like 1 in a card is really not anything, especially because we're at 10 health. So it's up to us whether we want to use this or not. I think we do. I think we want to just stay in stealth because I don't want to hold this in my hand. So I'm going to exhaust Fury's Watch and spend one of our threat to generate a resource and remove 2 threat from here. So this goes down to 4. And then we can jump to stealth, and we will. Because we have no other way to jump to stealth. Only cards that tell you to do that can you do that. You can't just change forms like some of the other heroes that have form modes. Sarah Garza will attack for 2. It has range, so we don't take retaliate. And mind you, defeating M.O.D.O.K does remove holding cell locks, and that's it. And we'll ready up. We're in stealth. First card, Spray Fire. So this is huge because this is one of the AoE attacks. There's 2 of these in the deck, and it says choose a player, deal 3 damage to the villain and every minion engaged. And of course, if we use our stealth counters, functionally this can do 6 to everything. This card looks so underwhelming until you realize how obviously Nick Fury's attack assault suit works, because paying 3 for 3 AoE is like way too expensive. Fury looks so fun to play with his powered up attacks, like 100%. It's really cool, especially like the version of Nick that you got pre-constructed is a Justice deck, which makes a lot of sense. But like being this like spy that jumps out and does like massive damage and then goes back into the shadows is like so cool, so much cooler than Maria. Fury def has minions to allies. Energy. This is the art from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, mind you, Nick's deck didn't come with any resources. The only resources that came in this box are on Maria's side, which is a bummer. Surprise attack, super important too, because this is another cool way that we can just jump out if we make an attack, and technically we've changed forms, so we can just go ahead and do up to like 7 damage for 1 resource, which is sick. Looking for trouble, can get a minion, which we actually like. We want to find the Adaptoids because they remove locks and we'll get 3 threat off, so that's sick. And then the Power of Aggression, which lines up in our hand poorly. This technically is a wild resource, which we could have used to open locks up, but this is just generates 2 resources for aggression cards, and we have 1 aggression card, so not great. All right, 1 thread goes here on 5. Now M.O.D.O.K would attack us, but we're in stealth suit, so M.O.D.O.K is going to scheme instead, so it's 3 in a card. This is the Adaptoid, which is 4/5, and it says after this activation, shuffle Adaptoid into the encounter deck. So we'll remember that. But now M.O.D.O.K is coming in for 5 scheme. Here we're going to throw our eye patch camera out. Eye patch camera says when any amount of threat will be placed on the main scheme, discard eye patch to place up to 3 of that instead. So now we're going to go to 4. So now there's only 2 threat going to be placed there, but because we're in stealth suit and we have less than 6, we put 1 there, and now we only put 1 here. So we're at 6 here of 7. Still pretty scary. Now, we can, in theory, use practice plan to return that preparation back to our hand. It's really like we're really prepping up, which is cool. Eye patch camera seems quite nice. We can definitely play it with this hand, and I think we're going to need that. We're going to probably be thwarting this turn though and not attacking. So I think we value this eye patch camera a lot versus M.O.D.O.K's 3. So we'll discard this. That means we can play intelligence analysis twice, but I think so far the counter cards have been relatively okay. And this ensures that there's always Adaptoids. So there's still 2 more Adaptoids in this deck. There are technically other minions as well. And if we go play our card that looks for trouble, we'll discard until we hit a minion. And there's only like 4 minions, I think, in this deck. We can check really quickly. But there's like 1, 2. Oh, no, there's a couple more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 6 minions in this deck. So there's a chance that we actually mill a lot of cards before we do anything good. All right. Cool thing about intelligence analysis too is that if we draw a card that says like M.O.D.O.K attacks you, which technically means M.O.D.O.K would thwart against us, or if we draw an advance or the advance equivalent, we can cancel it. Nick whipping off his eye patch is hilarious. Sinister attack. This is exactly what we're talking about. So this is a problem, right? Because sinister attack says, where are you? Oh, there's way too many cards that start with attack. Oh, sinister strike. Excuse me. That's on me. So Sinister Strike from Standard 3 says, place one pursuit counter. Oh, actually, no, something else is going to happen here. Place 1 pursuit counter and pursued by the past. And once this hits 4, it clears, so we don't do the rest of the text. If we want, we can cancel this by discarding this card and just cancel encounter card. Now, this means our Nemesis would come out. Our Nemesis is Orion. Orion's pretty big. Has toughness. This might be one too many things for us to deal with, so it might be an okay time to deal with intelligence analysis here. Because Orion comes in with toughness. How much damage can our hand possibly do against a toughness enemy? Sarah can attack, and then surprise attack can defeat it. That actually might be reasonable that we can deal with it this turn. We also can do like 6 AoE to everyone with spray fire. We will take retaliate too, but I think actually we want to flip up this turn because this is getting out of hand. So I don't think we will cancel this. I think we just do this. So we got to see the Nemesis. This might be bad for us. We'll find out. So we put Orion into play. Toughness. 6 health, which again, Nick can almost always consistently do 6 damage. Orion can have any number of tough status cards. That's cool text. Take that, Colossus. And after Orion takes any amount of damage, give him a tough status card. We also now get the side scheme, which is acquire infinity formula. I don't know anything about the narrative here. This has amplify icon, so every boost card has another counter on it, or another boost icon. It says after Nick Fury takes any amount of damage, give Orion a tough status card. If Orion is not in play, find him and put him into play, engage with the Nick Fury player. Well, actually, that's going to suck because M.O.D.O.K does damage to us no matter what happens. So we have to be pretty careful about that. We'll be fine. We have to not take damage, which luckily with our EM shield, we can just like not take damage, but we need to clear this thing. We need to put threat off of that. So we have to threat pretty hard here, but I think we drew most of our threat cards early, our thwarting cards. We could have maybe canceled this. This might've been okay, but we'll see how this goes. This might be a problem for us. Okay, it's back to us. We have 6 cards in hand. Now we can always looking for trouble, which honestly might line up well if we hit. Oh, we'll probably hit a toughness enemy, which sucks, but this gets 3 threat off the main scheme for 0 cost is not bad, but we get another enemy. Now we can let Orion stay and just thwart, like just attack us, which means because we're in stealth suit, it will just put 1 threat on the main scheme, 1 threat on us, which is not awful as well. We definitely want to play the eye patch camera. We want to play surprise attack. If we do spray fire, we need to clear this first, because if we take retaliate, Orion will just come back, which is not good because of this side scheme. I think Furia likes to team up with Wolverine to, I'm not going to say that word. Yeah, Wolverine's probably not bad. Piercing is actually really good in this encounter, but that's also because we drew the upgrade that gives him toughness, which is a bit rough. If Nick takes any amount of damage, if Orion's not in play, find him and put him into play, engage with you. Are those attached? Wait, those are not attached clauses, right? After Nick Fury takes any amount of damage, give Orion tough status card, and not then. It says if Orion is not in play, find. No, it's a response, not a revelation. So anytime, or a reveal, on reveal. So anytime that we take damage, we'll have to take this thing back. If Nick Fury takes damage, we have to go get Orion back. That's kind of messed up. So Nick can thwart for 4, but then Sarah can thwart for 5 and then clear it. We have no thwarting in her hand, which kind of stinks. Surprise attack again. Sarah can take the toughness off and we can ping Orion, but the problem is if we take any amount of damage. So we'd have to like EM shield, and EM shield just says you don't take damage. But we have 1 turn that if we ever take any amount of damage, we're in a bad spot. This is from an attack. I don't think there's any encounter cards that just do damage to us. We also have to get threat off of here. Oh my god, we have problems. So I think we need to go to attack mode. I think we have to deal with Orion. This might have been a fine turn not to draw Orion, which we were in charge of. We could looking for trouble. The thing is we're going to be attacking. Maybe we're not going to attack. God, M.O.D.O.K's going to scheme for so much. It just sucks to have like all these attack cards and not want to use them. So I think we will leave this up. We will take 2 off of this. We'll go into assault mode. So if we're going to go into assault mode, we could do spray fire. The problem with spray fire will hit M.O.D.O.K and it has retaliate. Choose a player, deal 3 damage to the villain, and each minion engage with them. Oh wait, this attack gains range. Never mind, we're good. So this is really notable. This is one of the few AoE cards that's an actual attack. Classically in Marvel Champions, any of the AoE cards are just actions, they're not attacks, but this actually has range, so it doesn't deal with AoE. So that's sick. Let's party. Let's hope that we don't specifically hit an Adaptoid, but we'll play Looking for Trouble. So Looking for Trouble says, discard cards from the top of the counter deck until you discard a minion, put that minion into play. Mind you, you don't reveal it, so you don't do revelation text. We have Monica. Oh, that's not a good one to put into play. Okay. I can't show this because I don't have this card, but she is one of the scientists, and the scientists have bad text when you defeat them. So when Scientist Supreme is in the victory display, Monica gets villainous. We don't have that, but victory -1. So when she's added to the victory display, that's just bad for us. It has vulnerable though. So this card is discarded if it's stunned or confused. So the idea is that this encounter set gets worse if we ever end up defeating any of the scientists. It's kind of incentivizing us not to defeat the scientists. The problem is we have no stun or confuse here. So we're probably just going to kill her and see what the encounter deck does to us. So far I've never killed one of the scientists to see what the counter set, how badly it scales up. We do remove 3 from here, which is good because we did find a minion, but I think we're just going to pop off and start blowing people up. So if that's the case, Sarah Garza is going to attack. She gets overkill in range. She's going to attack for 2 damage, which takes the toughness off. Now, Orion technically will get a toughness after he takes damage, but Tough says you don't take damage, if I'm not mistaken. We are now going to scheme for Thwart for 2, which drops us to 1, and we put 1 in our suit. We're going to remove 1 to ready with the car. Then we're going to just, I think we scheme for 2 again. Thwart for 2. Yeah, we don't have to attack. So we'll thwart for 2 to work on this, which puts another 1 here. Then we will just play an attack. So let's pop off. We're going to do, I don't think it matters. We'll pitch 1, 2, 3 for spray fire. Now we've done an attack, so we're forced back into assault mode, and this does 3 damage to each villain, and it has range, so we don't take retaliate. And we're going to spend 3 of our charges, so that means that we do 6 damage to everybody. So that defeats Orion, defeats Monica. It does damage to this, so M.O.D.O.K is on 6. We don't take retaliate. These are now defeated, but Monica is now in the victory display, and we have to keep that in mind because bad things will happen to us. That feels a bit cluttered. We'll just remember she's here. All right, we have 2 cards left. We need to play the eye patch camera just in case, but we're in assault mode, so we have no chance. Oh, this doesn't actually need a counter on it. So we'll just generate a resource here and a resource from our hand. We could have cleared a holding cell. I don't think we want to. And then we'll play the eye patch camera. So we can dodge damage, we can dodge threat. And unfortunately, we need to find a window here to jump into assault mode, into stealth mode. We could jump down to alter ego, which might be reasonable. If we're in alter ego, M.O.D.O.K will scheme, which will be for 3 and amplify. And the problem is eye patch camera can only be used as hero mode. So if we're not doing spy stuff, we can't use the eye patch camera. So I think we have to stay in this mode and just whatever we do, don't take damage. Because if as soon as we take damage from an attack, no, any damage, we grab Orion back, which is probably not a place we want to be. All right, we drew a gun as our hand cannon. This is the one card in the deck that I'm like, felt so out of place when I played the precon. This is Secret Agent. It costs 2. It's not a tech, which is annoying. Most of his cards are, and you have tech synergy in the deck. After you resolve the ability on a preparation card, you control move 1 threat from a scheme to your suit form upgrade. So we do have a bunch of preparations, and we have ways to recur them, but the deck only has like 4 preparations. I think this deck might have 5 or 6, and that based on your aspect, you can get more. But the problem is this card feels pretty inconsequential. It comes down to like 1 threat per turn sometimes. If you do practice plan, it sometimes is 2 threat per turn, but this is the one card that feels really underwhelming. This is the sort of card I would love in a Black Widow deck, and if you build the full preparation deck in Nick Fury, it's probably a bit better, but this is the one card I'm not like super jazzed about. We'll play it if we have the time to play it, but it's like, it feels like it only fires 3 or 4 times in a bunch of scenarios. I don't know. Into the Fray, that's good if we get a villain back, or sorry, a minion back, because it does damage and excess damage is thwarting. Grant Ward, new card, fun, playing it because it's cheap. But Grant Ward, it comes in for nothing. You can't block with him, which is fine, but after you reveal treachery, you may spend a mental resource. If not, Grant attacks you, which is kind of funny. Then we have another Into the Fray, so weird hand, that's for sure. But we'll go from here. Killing Scientist, this sounds like the opposite of Crusader. No remorse. All right. We put 2 threat here, and now M.O.D.O.K is going to attack us. We could block for 2, but I think we're just going to use our EM shield. We don't want to take any damage because Acquire Infinity formula comes back, so M.O.D.O.K is attacking for 1 in a card. This is 2 boost icons, so it's 3 damage. And we don't want to take damage, so we're just going to pop our EM shield, which is a preparation, which would fire our Secret Agent clause, and we'll just take no damage. It would have been 4 damage because of the Amplify. Our card is Exhaustion. I'm going to cancel this. So this is, I'm actually not sure the rules on. So firstly, Exhaustion is one of the expert cards. That's not it. This is it. It says Surge, when revealed, exhaust your identity card. Firstly, I want to shout out, I only learned this after playing hundreds and hundreds of games of Marvel Champions, and this is not intuitive at all. So Surge is the same keyword in other games like Arkham Horror. And Surge just means you draw another encounter card. For some reason in Marvel Champions, when you have a card like this that has Surge, you do the when revealed text first, and then you Surge. Surge is technically the last thing that fires on that card, which is pretty weird to me. Like, it feels like you should put the card aside and then do the text, but they did that at the top so you don't forget. But then why isn't Surge at the bottom? I don't honestly know. Now, what I don't know here is that the wording on intelligence analysis is different than some of the other cancel effects. This says when you reveal treachery, discard intelligence analysis and remove 1 threat from your suit form to cancel the effect of that treachery card and discard it. A lot of the cards say cancel the when revealed text. This says cancel the effects of the treachery. I'm assuming that includes Surge because it is an effect of the treachery, but It specifically doesn't say cancel the when revealed. So I'm not sure if we do this, whether cancel the surge and our exhaustion. We actually don't want to be exhausted because we want to deal with acquire infinity formula. So I think I'm going to use intelligence analysis here and just cancel this and assume it cancels the surge as well, because it's technically an effect of the treachery card. I need a ruling on that. I'm not 100% sure. But we are relatively otherwise well prepared because we have the eye patch camera, so we can do this. And Sarah's getting a bit hurt. We definitely want to do some damage to M.O.D.O.K. Hopefully we'll have another ranged attack coming up, but I think 2 of our ranged like sniper shots are in the bin. And that's a nice ranged attack. Concentrated fire, concentrated fire. We only have 2 of those. Okay. Otherwise, back to us. We want to get rid of this for sure. It just hurts on thwarting, scheming, and it hurts because if we take damage, obviously our friend comes back. Unfortunately, here we have no way to jump down. We have no way to go back into our stealth suit, and we have no use of these into the phrase. So at least we're going to set up a bit here. If Nick Fury thwarts, we still get 1 on our stealth suit, which is nice. That's not necessarily, you don't have to be in the stealth suit. It just puts it on your suit. So I think Nick Fury is going to thwart for 2, bring this down to 1, and we gain 1. I think we're going to prioritize throwing Sarah Garza into M.O.D.O.K because she has range, so she doesn't take retaliate. So that will do 2 damage here. Unfortunately, the cards we have in our hand don't have science resources, but this is the sort of hand that we'll just spend them on the holding cell if we had, again, science resources, because this cell needs, mental resources, and we don't have any mentals. It's 3 physical, 2 energy. All right, if that's the case, we will ready, losing 1 here, readying Nick Fury off our car, and then we'll thwart 2 more, which puts 1 here. And then we'll clear this, which is good. So now we are allowed to take damage, and we have 10 health, so we can take damage here for sure, as much as we're in assault mode. We'll play Grant Ward for free. And Grant Ward's easy to keep around because our Fury's Watch generates science resources. Oh, we actually could generate 2 science resources currently with our assault suit, with our Fury's Watch. That actually might be fine. I don't know how precious we have to be about these counters right here. And then either we play our secret agent, and then we can play our gun with Fury's Watch. That actually probably is it. So I'm going to spend 2 for a secret agent. So when we use a preparation, we get to remove a threat. And we have 1 preparation currently. We can move a threat. Actually, that's better. And then we'll spend 1 on this to go play our gun. And I like this gun. Gun is good. Gun has a couple charges on it, and it just means our attacks have overkill and +2 attack when we do a basic attack. And this is a big thing that I wanted the deck to do because firstly, it's a tech card, and we have ways to search for tech cards once we find or we can pay for tech cards. Technically, you can put a card in your deck that searches for tech cards. But the idea now is that we attack with Nick. He does 2 attack. We use a couple stealth counters. That's 5 attack. And then we can use the gun that's 7 attack. And it has overkill, which means we don't have to deal with retaliate. So this actually looks really cool. And we can hold up to 2 guns. This is the card I barely used. But honestly, +2 overkill seems kind of nice as long as you're doing basic attacks. And Nick can also basic attack twice because he can ready. With Grant Ward, we can just thwart 2. I think that's fine. And I think that's all we're going to do. I wish we had a bit of healing for Sarah Garza, but we do not. If you play the campaign mode, you have access to some cards that can heal allies, which is quite nice, but we don't have that right now. All right, practice plan, that's great. It means that we can replay our eye patch camera and it will trigger secret agent twice. We have another gun. We have 1x1, which is 2 into 2. We have looking for trouble, so we can go get a minion, which is nice because we have 1x1, and we have a surprise attack, which means we can blow up the minion by switching forms, as much as we have no ways to switch forms here. This might be an issue. We have no more form switching cards in a whole deck, so we might actually have to drop down to alter ego for a moment, just to be able to get back into stealth suit, because that's also another issue. Our deck is 45 cards, is that we're fewer and far between our ways to jump into the suits the way in hero mode that we want to be able to control. All right, 1 threat goes here. M.O.D.O.K will actually attack us for 1 in a card. I don't think we're going to block. I think we're just going to take this damage. This at worst can be 4 damage. It has 2 icons, so we take 3 damage. We're down to 7. I will eventually, I think Rohit put a message, but I will get digital versions of hero health, at least, maybe villain health, and they'll be under the camera, and I'll just do them digitally, so it's easier to see, because while we're streaming in 1440p, this is obviously a bit small, but 7 health. All right, nothing else here. We reveal an encounter card. If it's a treachery, Grant Ward will mess us up. It's an obligation. That's fine. So Grant Ward doesn't have to be stressed. This gives us another reason to jump down into alter ego mode, as much as this is not super important. And then it'll be our turn. And Drawing Nearer says, after your turn begins, discard the top card of your deck. Place resources on it pursued by the past equal to the resources generated by that card. So we just put 1 here. And we can discard this by discarding an identity-specific card in our hand. We have none. But we might be able to safely jump down here, because we want to go back into stealth mode, I'm pretty sure. Okay, if we defeat M.O.D.O.K, we can just throw Grant Ward, who will die, and Sarah Garza will do 2 damage. And if that's the case, we'll get 2 counters off the holding cell and we'll get the next minion, or the next ally, excuse me. The next ally is really good. This is the thing that I don't get about this. The more that you rescue people, the easier the scenario goes. I think usually it'd be harder. I think there's one deck in the counter deck that says like it attacks a minion. And so then if you lose one of these people, and if you lose, mind you, one of these rescued people, they go on bottom of the holding cell deck, which means you have to rescue them again. That has never happened to me so far. I think there are encounter cards that just say deal 1 damage to every person you have. So in theory, we should be a bit careful about Sarah at this point. Nick Fury taking serving lessons while the world burns. He's on a stealth mission on the AIM Island. So there's a lot of opportunities around the island to serve. Looking for trouble does 3 threat. That's a bit too much. So I think here, do we have any science icons? No, we are bereft of science icons. Bereft doesn't mean what I think it means. We are not going to deck out if we draw 6. So we don't have to use Grant Ward like that. We can use Grant Ward to threat 2, but we might as well use Nick Fury to threat because it's free. So we add 1 here. And then we can ready ourselves if we want to with our car. It costs 1 counter. Fury's flying car. If we want to, we can. I don't think we really need to. Notably, all our cards that deal with threat, like Eye Patch Camera and Secret Agent, are all hero responses. So if we go to Alter Ego, we can't actually do anything particularly cool. So I think if that's the case, we'll probably just, yeah, we can ready ourselves. We can heal at a minimum. We could also, in theory, attack for 4, and that will defeat M.O.D.O.K. We'll take 2 retaliate. That actually might be better. So let me retcon this. So instead of doing anything here, so exhaust everything, we're back to stage 1. We will just attack with Nick Fury, and then we'll use the hand cannon, which gives us +4 attack, +2 attack and overkill, which doesn't really matter, the overkill, but we'll do 4 damage to M.O.D.O.K. And M.O.D.O.K says specifically, when M.O.D.O.K would be defeated if a holding cell is in play, remove 2 lock counters and reset M.O.D.O.K. So we didn't defeat M.O.D.O.K, which means we still have to take retaliate. So we're on 5. We reset M.O.D.O.K's health to the 14. And we remove 2 counters from holding cell. Again, we're now through 2 of the holding cells. The next holding cell needs energy icons, which we can deal with. And this now gets us Psionic Inhuman. This card is very powerful. After this ally thwarts, remove 1 lock counter from holding cell. I don't get it. This card is so busted, and it means that we only have 4 more lock counters to get rid of, so we win in 4 turns. I don't understand the balance of the scenario entirely. There's not a lot of pressure on these minions, but now I can thwart with the Psionic Inhuman, which removes 1 here, which removes 1 here. I also can now just spend 2 energy resources to get rid of the next holding cell, and then we'll only have 1 more holding cell, and then all we have to do is 14 damage. This is what I mean. Like, the scenarios feel a bit strange in this box. Like, they've always felt like they have some sort of balancing slightly off. This one is like not my favorite. It feels kind of easy to just brute force it to some extent. All right, now we'll exhaust 1 here and ready Nick so that we can go down and heal, and we'll heal up to 9. I don't think we need to take the next counter off the holding cell. I'd rather set up a bit. So I'm going to play the practice plan, which allows us to return a preparation that we just discarded. I will play second gun, I think. Yeah, I think we'll just play second gun. I'll keep the looking for trouble maybe. So we'll play the second hand cannon, which we have 2 slots for weapons. So we have 2 hands. So now we can attack for a lot of damage and just one-shot M.O.D.O.K nearly at the end. We took all the threat off of here. We'll hop down with Nick. We'll use Nick's once per turn ability to flip into stealth mode, which doesn't actually matter in Alter Ego. It doesn't have any text. And then we'll exhaust to heal 9, or up to 9, excuse me. Drawing near is going to stay here. I guess if that's the case, we don't need this. This does do 3 threat, but that is fine. Are we going to worry about Grant Ward? Grant Ward could bop us. We could also pay a science resource, or sorry, they're called mental resources. I don't think we care that much. We could do 2 more damage to M.O.D.O.K. I think this is fine. We'll risk the 1 mental resource. We'll draw 6 cards. We get Genius, so that's 2 mental resources. Maria Hill, this is our unique ally, very powerful. Basically, whenever she activates, you get, oh, that's not the right one. Whenever she activates, you can go put threat on your suit, which is quite nice. We like that. We have the Helicarrier, which is a resource generator once per turn. 1 by 1, of course. Surprise attack, which we can just flip up and do immediately. Only 5 damage because we only have 1 threat on our suit. And then Gemma Simmons. This is the card that we wanted. Luckily, we got it now, but this is a setup card. This is one of the cool cards, new Shield's persona, that says she comes on for only 1 resource because we're Shield on both Alter Ego and Hero, and we can exhaust her to generate a mental resource for a tech card. And all our preparations, which we trash and replay, almost all of them are tech cards, which is quite nice. Let alone our guns are tech cards, but they've hit the table. So much content lately. I know, Eric. How's it going? We put a video up this morning. I totally forgot I scheduled this. I probably wouldn't on the same day I streamed, but it's the new box. For what it's worth, I don't know if this new box is my favorite box, but we're doing all right. How you doing? Now, we have to discard Maria Hill if we want to get rid of drawing near, so that might be a bit ugly, but we put one threat here. We could actually advance. It's possible that we advance here if we hit a 3, because M.O.D.O.K schemes for 3 in a card. This has only 1 boost icon on it. That actually, mind you, is one of our cards from our Nemesis set. So that is 4. So this goes up to 5. None of our interrupts can hit here because they're all hero interrupts. So we can't do eye patch camera. We can't do anything else. This should be ready. Our next card is Cold Storage. It's another card from our Nemesis. I don't actually know what this does. When revealed, search the counter deck and discard pile for a Leviathan minion and put into play engage with you. Otherwise, take 2 damage. Now, Leviathan minion, so we can do Orion. I'm assuming the Leviathan soldier is going to be a bit easier. We put into play. So this has 4 health and toughness. Oh, mind you, we just revealed an encounter card, so we have to deal with Grant Ward. 1 second. So Grant Ward says, after you reveal, okay. I think that's after we resolve. I'm not sure the ordering. It shouldn't matter that much. But Leviathan soldier comes in. And it says, after soldier schemes, deal 1 damage to the engaged player's identity. Schemes for 0, and technically that's fine, but that's the one we'll take. 4 toughness is okay. We can bop that pretty easily with surprise attack or 1x1 if we need to. And now we'll go back to Grant Ward. And Grant says, after you reveal treachery, you may spend a mental resource, otherwise Grant Ward punches you and leaves, which is hyper rude. So I think we're just going to get rid of Gemma because she's our 1 science resource. We could exhaust Fury's Watch to generate a science resource. Are we going to play Gemma this turn? I don't think so. I think we're pretty close to the end of the scenario, so we'll just play a resource, and Grant stays with us. All right, that's it. It's back to us. We have 5 threat here, which is a problem. We can get the next ally by doing psionic on human, thwarting once. I don't understand the balance of this scenario. We're going to do that. So psionic and human says after this ally thwarts, remove 1 lock counter. This says after we remove a lock counter, we get the 3rd ally. They don't take up ally slots. They're very powerful. Oh, hold on. We have to trash the top card of our deck. Uh-oh, this has 2 icons on it. So this goes up to 3. We'll remember that. This is flying in human. 2 thwart, not bad. 1 attack. Does not count against your ally limit. After this ally thwarts, remove 1 threat from another scheme. They don't have really ability that interacts with. And then after this leaves play, it gets put onto the bottom of the deck. Puts 2 locks on the last card. This card needs 2 attack resources. We might, or physical resources, excuse me. We might be able to win this turn. So this goes here. Okay. So do we have 4 physical resources? We don't. We only have 2. And we have a wild. So that means if we probably just hang out for a bit. And then once we get this last one down, we just one-shot M.O.D.O.K and it's over. I don't understand this scenario. This seems less interesting than a bunch of other scenarios like this. Okay. So what are we going to do? We are in stealth form, so if we attack, we won't be in stealth form. If the Leviathan soldier says after it schemes, deal 1 damage to each player's identity, that doesn't matter. We can take a damage, so we're just going to stay on this side and not care about it, and then just work on scheming a bit. I will discard Maria Hill to get rid of drawing near. In theory, we don't need to, but I will. We have a small chance of drawing our Nemesis again, which is not that bad. It's only our Nemesis, it's not actually the side scheme. We're going to deck out, so we want to get Grant Ward into the bin, which we can just attack M.O.D.O.K if we want to. Didn't the Road Skull campaign have some kind of ally rescue mechanic? It did. And those allies were busted good. But those allies, you had to scheme, you have to clear like a 5 threat scheme, and then they became part of your deck. And they were very fun and powerful, but they were part of the campaign. They did make things easier, but not as much as this. Like this one removes a lock every turn. We only have to remove 8 locks for the game to be over. Like it just ends the game. I don't know. Like it doesn't feel like that other one. Like, I think the best ally rescuing one, and mind you, the scenario before this in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also has an ally rescuing mechanic, is my favorite one is the one where you have to rescue the Morlocks, because the Morlocks were attacked every encounter phase, and you could give them toughness, so you had to protect them. Here, I don't feel like I have to protect these people at all. They're just busted powerful, and they're helping us on the team, and M.O.D.O.K is, like, kind of inconsequential. It's weird. Like, this just feels a lot easier than anything else. I'm not entirely sure. Seeing Eric reminds me to send my Netrunner memes. Oh, is it the what's it called? The competition on? We'll flip up. We can surprise attack, but then we'd be in attack and we'd have to leave stealth mode. So we're not going to do that. Here we might just go play our helicarrier, which seems pretty extra. So Nick will thwart for 2. That puts 1 here. We'll remove that 1 to ready. So in theory, we don't have to do all that. We can just cut corners. So we want to defeat Grant to put him back into the deck, I think. I'm pretty sure. So if that's the case, Grand is going to attack for 2 and then just get defeated by Retaliate. Great. Nick is going to thwart for 2, which clears this, puts it here. We have all these extra people that are not doing anything. We could definitely do Sarah into 2, but I think there is an encounter card that just blasts everyone for 1 damage, so we'll keep her a bit healthy. 2 physical is doable, but if we do 2 physical, we throw out Helicarrier. I think that's fine. So we'll spend 2 physical to remove a lock. Pass. I don't know. I'll hold on to the Genius, I guess. I don't know what our last card is. Oh, it's Spray Fire. That's not that good. I guess we don't hold on to this. Sick. 1. Ready up. Draw a card. So we get an encounter. Our deck empties. We'll shuffle. Now Meme Contest will be announced this Monday. Oh, cool. Is it like elevation angled or just whatever? I'm assuming it ends after elevation comes out. If you're waiting for all the hot Komodo dragon memes. So now if we defeat an Adaptoid that comes up, we can empty the holding cell. Ideally, we just spend 2 physical and then just do 12 damage, which mind you, our normal basic attack does at 9 damage. So like, I don't know. I need to decide if I'm actually playing some rounds in the offline districts tonight. Online districts. Oh, it's the APAC one, right? Did you register for Spin Doctors at the minimum? When does it start? Like 8 p.m., I guess? Okay, so we have Spray Fire. We have Covert Surveillance, that's good, so we can jump back into Stealth if we need to. Concentrated Fire, this is a really fun card. I'd love to finish off the villain with this because it's just really cool. I just like the flavor on this because it kind of reminds you the same way that I like, what's his face? Hawkeye, that this is just a guy. He's just a guy with some equipment. So the idea is that you can pop out of Stealth, shoot for 7 damage, and jump straight back into Stealth. It's just like exactly the play style I want. Be quiet, be stealthy, headshot, back to Stealth, which is just so damn fun. This card's sick. We have Specialized Training way too late for that, and we have another Spray Fire. So a whole hand of ways to shoot people with big bullets. I think it starts probably like 8 or 9. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming they're streaming it too. 1 counter goes there. M.O.D.O.K attacks us because we're in stealth form. We'll go for Scheme, so it's 3 in a card. This card has a boost icon. Attach this card to the activating enemy. Ooh, Psionic Force Field. I've never seen this. Attach the M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K gains Stalwart, which means it can't be stunned or confused. That's fine. And when attacked, enemy would take any amount of damage, place that here instead. Then if they're at least 5 damage here, discard this card. Oh, that sucks. That just means he gained 5 health. So that sucks. So now M.O.D.O.K is still scheming for 3. I don't think we have to eye patch camera that. I don't think we do. So we put 1 in our suit because we have less than 6. And then we put 2 here. So this goes to 3. Leviathan Soldier would attack us, but would thwart instead. And it says after Leviathan Soldier schemes, deal 1 damage to each player's identity. So we take 1 and we do not place 1 threat from that activation because there was no threat from that activation. Or we'd have 2 encounter cards. So if M.O.D.O.K attacks us, we have the eye patch camera ready. Adaptoid, that's kind of what we wanted. So this thing comes in, has 5 health, has toughness, which we're going to have to start blasting. It has overkill and +2 attack. And when we defeat it, we get the last holding cell ally, which is nice. So that is not a problem for us. That's actually what we wanted. And then lastly, we have Dark Designs. When revealed, place 1 pursuit counter here. I can't believe this is lined up so perfectly, but this is the standard 3 card. I'm cycling through all of the Dark Beast cards. Place 1 pursuit counter. Then if it has any counters, the villain schemes. But because this has 4 counters, I have to read this text carefully because Pursued by the Past, I don't think I've fired it twice that commonly. After you flip to the side, find your Nemesis minion and reveal it. So reveal it means that means we grab it from most areas. So Orion comes back. Then it says search the set aside area for your Nemesis side scheme and reveal it. Because it is not set aside, we don't do that. Shuffle your remaining set aside cards, flip this over. So all we do is basically draw this minion. Everybody has toughness. Holy crap. Luckily, we drew a bunch of explosions. So the 6, toughness. Orion can have any number of tough status cards, and after it takes damage, give him a tough status. So we have some work to do here, but I'm pretty sure we're just going to try and blow up M.O.D.O.K on this turn. So this turn got interesting, that's for sure. We need to take all the toughnesses off. We literally have to take all the toughnesses off, which is going to be hard. We only have 3 threat here, so maybe we should have eye patched just to get more threat on this. That actually might have been, excuse me, disgusting. It might have been correct because our AoE can do up to 6 damage. So we can take 1 tough off, 1 tough off, 1 tough off. Oh, we can also just psionic and human and ignore all this. Yeah, let's just ignore every single part of this. So we'll just scheme for 1. This says after this ally thwarts, remove a lock counter from a holding cell. So this goes down to 2. We remove our last minion, which now means if we defeat M.O.D.O.K, we win the game. This is strong and human by a mile the worst one. Oh my god, this one's useless. Toughness, 7 health, 3 attack. No, 3 attack is not terrible, but like the other ones win the game. This one just has 7 health. I've ran out of health dice, so this goes to 7. It gets a counter, and that's that. Now if we defeat M.O.D.O.K, we win. So all we have to do is enough damage to M.O.D.O.K. Seems easy. This doesn't have guard. This doesn't have guard. This doesn't have guard. This doesn't have guard. Oh, we have to deal with the psionic force field. That's for sure. So if that's the case, we will do 2 damage into 3 damage. So Sarah Garza will attack for 2 damage. She has range, so she doesn't take retaliate. And 2 of that damage, I'll just use blue dice. Sorry, we ran out of dice. Goes here. Because this says when attached to enemy would take any man damage, place it here. Then if there's at least 5. We'll attack with the strong and human, which takes retaliate 2 plus 1 consequential. So it goes down to 4. And then this puts it on 5 and we discard it. And then we got to go for the headshot. So first play, we're going to spend 2 for concentrated fire. That means we make an attack. So we're forced into our assault form. And it says deal 4 damage to an enemy. This attack gains range, so we don't take retaliate. And we'll spend 3 counters to make that 7 damage. So we lose 7. Now that doesn't defeat anyone, but we're still ready. And so all we're going to do is attack with Nick Fury, which is 2. We'll use 2 guns, 3-4 with overkill, 5-6 with overkill. We defeated M.O.D.O.K. I don't know. Feels like a strange scenario. It's like so much of it is just resource sinking. It feels like you just get more and more powerful exponentially because we have 4 allies that are all pretty good. It doesn't feel like they're ever threatened. Like nothing attacks them. I don't totally get this. Like this seems like not that bad for an expert scenario. I don't know. I feel like there's so much resource sinking in this scenario. This one feels a bit soft to me. M.O.D.O.K only having 14 health and not like really threatening you, like attack for 1 in a card. Like you can just stay in hero mode the whole time and not really stress it out. That is cool. This deck actually did work. I do think we should be cutting some cards from the deck. I can't tell which 5 we should cut. Like maybe we should keep up the pressure and just assume that we have enough thwarting to do that we shouldn't play these cards because we don't have time to take the threat off the side schemes because we have so much threat to take off the main scheme considering our shtick is put threat on the main scheme. Mind you, the villain we removed also didn't impact us. We just didn't draw enough cards that cared about there being an enemy in the victory display. But I think it would make sense to remove the side schemes because they seem ambitious considering our setup is, that's not that hard, but we have a lot of threatening to do. Where is the size game? Was it in our hand? Yeah, we just pitched it. So we'll get those down. So we're down to 43. Ideally, we want to go down to 40. But that's that. Nick Fury, fun. Really genuinely fun playstyle, especially in aggression where you pop in and out. And you still have a lot of thwarting even without going into justice, which is cool because Nick can thwart for 2 twice. That's actually the reason why we're playing specialized training, so we can give ourselves +1 thwart in aggression, because this card says when you complete it, add a specialization card. And so the specialization we want is called Surveillance Specialist, which gives us +1 thwart. And when we thwart, we draw a card. And we can thwart for free every turn because of the Fury's flying card, which is kind of sick. So it is 5 threat on it, which is a lot. We don't have that much threat burst. We have enough to like maintain the scheme, and our preparations work really well. All right, I think we're going to try. What time is it right now? It's like 4 o'clock. We can do one more, I think. I think we can do one more. Do y'all want to see this again, or do you want to see a different scenario? I think we haven't seen the next scenario. The next scenario is interesting. It's all about big minions. I think we're going to be okay with big minions. It has a lot of like randomness to the setup because you pick 2 massive minions on random, and then you become a fight. You get into a fight with those minions, and they like tag team in and out. It's neat. It's definitely neat. Let me just clean this up. Cool. I feel like we got lucky with these environments too. If they had more scheming on the Adaptoids or more, scheme, it's a bit harder for us, that's for sure. Because we can't just hang out in our one side. All right. We'll deconstruct this. Give me one moment. The next scenario is another one where you do need a lot of... I think I'll go get some damage dials because they have a lot of health. There's like 2 minions on the table that have like 16 health each, and I will run out of damage dice. Okay, this is our nemesis. This is the Adaptoid. We don't need these. This is our nemesis set. This is science. Sick. Out of interest, who is Nick Fury's nemesis? I don't know who this character is. This is Orion. I know very little about it. It seems like there's these things called Leviathans, and it seems like they're extracting some sort of formula to make these things. But in terms of like the lore, I don't honestly know what that would mean. But that's who it is, at least at a minimum. Thunderbolt scenario is cool. I've seen M.O.D.O.K build himself up with attachments and get nasty. I haven't seen it so far. I've played this like now 4 or 5 times, and M.O.D.O.K has just kind of been a bit of a cakewalk. There are a bunch of attachments. One of the attachments gives him like scaling based off of what card he captures, I think. There's one that you have to like defeat him to reset the hit points. I saw online people getting really upset about Retaliate 2, which like, I don't know. Obviously, I think in the box that it comes with, like Nick has ranged. If you play Maria, you never have to do a single attack in your whole game, which is like kind of strange. I don't know. My thoughts on this box are not fantastic at this point. Yeah, this thing, acquire infinity formula. So the Leviathans have something to do with this. Not sure more than that. Must be a Marvel deep cut because I never heard of him either. They do that every once in a while where like sometimes the obvious nemesis they don't do. And I don't know whether it's because they intend to have the nemesis show up later in different boxes and they want to just like keep it fresh. But sometimes they do go for niche picks, like not the clear front runner that a lot of people would have expected. That being said, I know very little about Shield in general and what would be the expected, but I'm not too surprised. Like if it is a strange pick, sometimes they do just do that. All right, standard, expert. We're not going to need the scientists. It's a cool encounter set. And we are maybe going to need Orion, of course. Okay, next one. I'm just going to have to stand up to go grab some dials because I think it'll make more sense. This is one that's also a bit confusing on the setup. There's some wording stuff I'm not 100% sure about, but I think we're doing it correctly. The box heroes definitely make him weak, yes. I think the box heroes make everyone weak. Well, not necessarily. Oh my god, Maria Hill is kind of something else. Okay, we'll need that. So this is the next scenario. It's called Thunderbolts. This scenario is really cool because it's modular. And the upcoming encounter packs, or sorry, hero packs, will have cards that you can incorporate to change this scenario. How the scenario works is that there's this mysterious villain called Citizen V. And while you do end up fighting Citizen V eventually, we'll be on B side because we're playing expert, you do spend more time fighting his minions. And you end up in this like tag team fight where you're usually only fighting one at a time, and whatever one is weaker will run away and heal, and then the other one will come back in. It's a cool mechanic. I think it is neat. It's probably much more interesting, mind you, when you're playing multiplayer. I do think that actually might be one of the problems with this box. I feel like a lot of the elements I've seen in this box do not scale well with play count. I feel like I've seen some encounter card designs that are like kind of really messed up. Like I do think also, for what it's worth, the main scenario, or the campaign mode stuff in this box seems to scale really, really poorly with one player. We can talk about it later if we want to, but I do think the scenario is also a lot cooler in multiplayer because everyone's engaged with one villain or one super minion, let's call them that. And there's a bunch of encounter cards that say like, engage the minion to your left, engage the minion to your right. And you just don't participate in any of those shenanigans when you're playing solo, which is a bit of a bummer. Anyways, that's Citizen V. Notably, Citizen V doesn't activate against you half the time, which feels like you're cheating. Like it feels like I'm getting a rule wrong, but it's not. Citizen V cannot be defeated until there's at least one per player Thunderbolt minion in the victory display. And so when Citizen V would activate against you, don't, and instead just heal 6. Which means as long as there's a minion with you, this card does nothing besides heals. And technically there will be guard, because if there's a Thunderbolt minions have guard, so you can't attack him. But basically this guy just stands here menacingly for most of the game until you defeat your Thunderbolt and go in for the kill. Only has 16 health, 3 scheme, 2 attack is not terrible. But this guy just sits here menacingly watching you. It's kind of weird. Every time I play this, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm missing a rule. And we'll find out if we are. We start here. Justice like lightning. When revealed, each player reveals a random set-aside Thunderbolt minion. This will make more sense if we start here. Apprehending rogue agents. Content, Citizen V. We're playing B because we're playing expert. Thunderbolts and 1 standard encounter set. So there's no modulars in here besides the Thunderbolts. And it says choose 1 modular set plus 1 additional modular set, each with an elite Thunderbolt minion in it. Set each of those minions aside and shuffle the rest of the encounter sets together and reveal the environment. So what's really cool, there are like a handful of encounter cards for this Citizen V Thunderbolts thing, but then the rest of the set is a bunch of different elite Thunderbolt minions that have a lot of health. Like this is Black Widow again, 14 health, M.O.D.O.K, 16 health. And the idea is that this comes with 6 of them. And in solo, you pick 2 randomly and that will be your fight. This is Moonstone that I think affects gravity. We have Radioactive Man who's shown up in this game a couple times before, 18 health, and he just kind of hits you every turn. Songbird that seems to have, it actually mimics Claw from the core set, so has like sound-based attacks. And then finally you have the French parkour expert and kickboxer Batroc, who also shows up earlier in this box. So we have to pick 2 of these. If anyone feels really strongly that they like one of these villains and wants to see them in action, otherwise we'll roll a die. I will put these on the table. You can get your vote in, and I'm just going to pop out to go grab some health dials because they are important when the numbers get this big. It's hard to do this with dice. I have fought against all of them. I don't find any of them more interesting than others. It is what it is. I really love how the Marvel theming is geared towards the comic style. I like that the pulp adventure sci-fi vibe way more than the movies. Yes, and this box I was so excited for because it's the pulp, like, you know, spy movie. And I do think some of the theme lands it. I just don't feel like the mechanics land it as anywhere near as well as Nick Fury does when it comes to the box itself. Give me 1 second. Oh, hey, look. Okay, we're gonna need those. We're just gonna roll then. 1, 6. 1, it's Batroc, bummer. 1, we'll just do 1, 6 again. So 5 is Radioactive Man. So we actually have pretty high health totals, 16, 18. And so these will now be set aside. These encounter cards will be shuffled into the deck, and the other 4 we won't use. Again, the upcoming hero packs will have more Thunderbolt minions to give you more modular options for this, which is kind of neat. And these are also just totally normal, totally cromulent encounter sets you can shuffle into anything that you're playing in Marvel Champions. So you can bring them in against Claw, and then when you discard for a minion, you get a 16 health minion on turn 1. All right, Justice Like Lightning starts in play on this side. So it says, each player reveals a random set-aside Thunderbolt minion. Reveal and attach the remaining set-aside Thunderbolt minion here. In expert mode, each gets a tough status and flip this over. So basically, we have to randomize which one starts playing against us and which one starts up in the corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to be starting against Radioactive Man, and Batroc is going to be in the corner. We will give them health, and we will give them a toughness. So 18. You have to move these around a lot, so having like a huge amount of health on it, it's like kind of a pain in the ass, which I learned pretty quickly. So we'll use the dials. This is 16. They both have toughness, so that's that. And then this flips over, and this has some rules on it, which is a bit of a reading comprehension test, I'll be honest. I don't know if this is as easily explained as it can be. So this is the minion attached here is technically in play and can be targeted by attacks and abilities. It's not engaged with you, so it won't activate against you from my understanding, but you can just punch the thing that is here in the Thunderbolt backup section. It says, forced interrupt. When the round ends, attach the Thunderbolt minion with the most damage here, swapping it with the minion already attached here. So basically they always will swap in and out. I'm pretty sure swap means you have to swap. So if this is the most damaged one, I think it still swaps out. Not 100% sure about that, but swap means like you have to swap. You can't just keep that one there if this is the most damaged. So I think they have to keep coming in and out. I'm not 100% sure if they're both at full health. Do they still swap? I think they do. I'm not very clear about how that works, but I think that makes sense. Then heal 1 damage from attached minion. In expert mode, heal 2 damage instead and give a tough status card. Again, it says heal from attached minion. I'm assuming that's attached minion after they swap in because you read from top down. So the short of the long is, and this took me a minute to make sure I'm doing it right, is at the end of the round, we will take this minion. It'll jump into the Thunderbolt backup. It will gain a toughness, heal 2, and this minion will come out, which means in theory, we want to burst them down because otherwise if we do just chip damage, they keep healing and keep getting tough. So that's kind of awkward, honestly, because we spend a lot of time just not attacking the minion because doing chip damage is super, super ineffective. We're much better off getting a bunch of like threat on our suit and then just doing like 7 attack and blowing it up, because just doing 1 attack and killing the tough and doing 2 damage, it'll heal immediately. So this kind of forces your hand. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of ways to interact with it besides just doing massive burst damage. And for what it's worth, they only scheme for 1 each. Technically they have villainous, so we'll look at that in a second, but we're probably just going to stay on a stealth suit for a lot because this schemes for 1, Citizen V schemes for 3. So we're just going to ignore these for a long time. It is not fantastic. Next up, Apprehending Rogue Agents, the only main scheme. 11 threshold, starts with 1, gets 1 per turn. Each Thunderbolt minion gains guard. That actually does matter because we have AoE attacks that are technically attacks. So the AoE cannot hit Citizen V while there's a Thunderbolt in play. And then it says, force response after a player attacks a Thunderbolt minion, that minion engages that player. That only matters for multiplayer, or if we attack the thing in the backup, it'll just jump on us and then we'll have 2 minions engaged with us, and then the least healthy one will leave. And then this, if this clears, we lose. So 11 is not that bad at all. That's it. Let's just shuffle our deck and we're good to go. So mind you, Radioactive Man, 18 health is a lot. Has the same text every Radioactive Man that's ever been printed has. It has Villainous, which means when it activates, it draws a boost card. So 1 is not bad, plus Mystery. And it says, after Radioactive Man activates against you, you deal damage to each character you control. Nick is a character I control, as much as also allies are characters we control. Batroc on the other side, also very annoying that this thing keeps swapping in and out. But Batroc says that when it engages you, of course it has Villainous, you have to discard a card from your hand. So it just kicks it out of your hand. That's annoying. I think this is probably the most annoying too, because every time they engage you, you either lose a card or take a damage. Some of the other ones are not that bad. Like one of them, just like Claw says, it takes 2 boost cards. One of them says like when it schemes, you draw an attachment. But these are the worst to be constantly swapping in and out because they will attrition us down eventually. That being said, they both have Scheme 1, which for Nick Fury, cool. It's not a lot of pressure put on us. All we have to do functionally is defeat Radioactive Man, and that's the weird thing. Thunderbolt backup stops doing anything once there only is 1 minion, because it doesn't say that this minion leaves. It says you swap a minion out with that minion. So if this one's dead, this one will only always stay in there unless you choose to attack it or an encounter card says it engages you. And there's about 2 or 3 that do that in the whole deck. But in theory, once you defeat Radioactive Man or whoever's engaged with you actively, this one will never come out. I'm not sure if that's intentional, because in theory, you can entirely ignore this. Technically, if you play campaign mode, it matters if you don't defeat both of them, because they will show up in the next scenario. But if you just play standalone mode, which most people, that's the way they interact with Marvel Champions, you can always ignore the second one. It's very strange. The whole scenario just feels like it puts the brakes on. What about Fall Out Boy? That's the thing that I didn't know. So like Radioactive Man and Fall Out Boy show up in The Simpsons too, if I'm not mistaken. But is that what the band is named after? It's really weird that you're like halfway through the scenario, you kill one of your Thunderbolts and you're like, this one will engage me, right? And the response is, no, it just stays there and watches you from the distance. Don't touch it. And it's like, what the heck is going on? Why isn't it not engaging you? It feels strange. It feels like that's not how it's intended. But as written, that seems to be what it does. All right, it's up to us again. We'll be in stealth mode, so this thing is only going to scheme for 1 and a card, which is totally fine. 11, like we played on the last main scheme that had 7, and even that, well, it did get close, but that was mostly because the the villain was scheming for 3 and a card. This is also technically a minion, which there are cards in the original Nick Fury deck that care about when minions engage you and it can do things to them. We don't have any of those justice preparations, so we're going to have to like burst through these. And ideally we'll burst Batroc because 16 toughness is easier than 18 toughness by 2 health. I should pile shuffle this. Give me 1 second. This is also, I think, one of the few, oh no, it does, never mind. I was going to say it's one of the scenarios that doesn't change its setup drastically based off of difficulty, which is something they've been doing recently, and I like that a lot. It's not just the encounter deck gets worse, like the design of the scenario gets harder, but that's not true. They heal 2 and they get a toughness. That's significantly harder. Well, depending if you game it or not, and we're going to largely game it. All right, we're off. Opening hand size 6 cards. We draw Gun. Not super important turn 1, but Gun is never bad. Helicarrier. Okay, that's good to get down early. It's a generator. 1 resource a turn. This is a basic card. It's nice, especially if we get a double. Surprise attack. So when we flip up, we can go change form and deal a bunch of damage. However, we don't really have an incentive to do that because there's a toughness that will get in our way. Genius. Genius Helicarrier. Sick. Strength, Genius Helicarrier. Okay, we're in the money. And Into the Fray, not going to be a good card. Probably should change our deck slightly. There are no minions in this set, so Into the Fray is going to be a bit of a brick. As much as we can crank it up to do 9 damage, which is good, but this is going to be a very dead card in this matchup. So we'll keep the cards that we want to. Ideally, we spend 2 cards to play Helicarrier and then something we play with a strength. So let's go look for our flying card would be the best case. Power of Aggression's useless. Useless. Gun. We can set up, but not a great start. All right, Nick Fury, we'll jump into stealth suit. We'll jump into hero mode. We don't have to, in theory, if you want +1 hand size, because Radioactive Man's going to scheme no matter what, but at least here we take one of the threat. We will spend power of aggression plus strength for a helicarrier. We can now exhaust the helicarrier to play a card from our hand, reducing the cost by 1. So I think we can do Into the Fray, play the hand cannon. And I honestly think we might just keep this in our hand because it's a pretty good draw. It's a bit greedy. We don't always need this. I never know guaranteed whether we should be holding a genius. Our deck is still 43 cards, which is 3 cards over maximum, and we need to draw into our good cards. We'll hold on to it. It's fine. We're going to thwart for 2, which means we get to put 1 there. That's it. Draw up to 5. We draw Spray Fire, so AoE damage, not really excited about that. Grant Ward, fine. Spray Fire, uh-oh. And Professor X, really good. That's 3 thwart, and when Prof X comes in, we can confuse, or actually, you don't need to do confuse on this. You want to stun, generally. Now, what is kind of weird, so this can stun a minion, which is fine for us, but what's actually really strange is Citizen V's text specifically says, and this is a tricky thing that hasn't shown up yet, it says, when Citizen V would activate during step 2 of the villain phase, if a Thunderbolt minion is engaged with you, it just heals instead. But that means if you do draw a card like Assault or Advance, this will activate. So if a card from the counter deck says the villain activates, this will activate. It's not super common, but in theory, you have to watch out. That will possibly happen. I just haven't, for as many times as I played Thunderbolt, that hasn't shown up yet for some reason. As much as that's like a really common affair. All right, we put 1 here. Citizen V would activate, but it doesn't. Heal 6, very strange. Radioactive Man, after it activates against you, we have to deal 1 damage to each character. So for now, it's scheming for 1 and a card. This has 3 boost on it. That's a lot. This is actually technically another Thunderbolt minion. I have not seen this one enter play, but that's the only other Thunderbolt minion. So that's 4. So we put 1 of them here and then 3 going here. After Radioactive Man activates, deal 1 damage to every character you control. So we take 1. We're down to 9. We forgot to heal. We should be at 10. Now we're at 9. And then we draw our encounter card, which is Sinister Strike. Oh, so it does happen. Okay, cool. So this is Sinister Strike. Should write more letters before I start tabbing through these. So it says, when revealed, place 1 pursuit counter here. And then if it has any counters, the villain activates. So this actually will make Citizen V activate, which is 3 in a card. I don't think we can lose here, but this is going to be a lot of threat. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1 boost icon is 4. So that means we put 3 on here, 1 on us. So this goes up to 7. Now, at the end of the round, these 2 swap, I'm pretty sure. Whatever one's the lowest health would pump in, and then this one comes out. The one here in the corner heals 2 and gets a toughness. It doesn't do anything. But Batroc says, when Batroc engages you, discard a card from your hand. I'll just throw out a Spray Fire because we're not going to play it. Back to us. Shit, that's a lot of threat. That is a lot of threat. We can deal with this. Helicarrier to reduce the cost by 1. Genius. We'll play Professor X. Professor X comes in. It only lasts for 1 turn before Prof X removes himself from play at the end of the round. After it comes in, you can either stun a minion, confuse the villain. We'll stun a minion, so Batroc won't activate against us. That means he won't attack, which means he won't thwart, or scheme, excuse me. We'll exhaust Prof X to take 3 off of this, goes down to 4. We will use Nick Fury to drop this down to 2, put this to 4. Look at the rest of our hand. We'll just play Grant Ward. Comes in for free. Mind you, Grant Ward might stab us, but we can deal with that. We'll exhaust Grant Ward to deal 2. And we've cleaned the board out. We don't need the Spray Fire. That's it. We can't block with Prof X because we're not in attack mode. So Prof X block gets wasted here. In theory, what we could do is we could pop up to assault mode and then block with Prof X, but we use the stun here anyways, so it's going to be a wash no matter what. We draw 5 cards. Surprise attack. So if we flip up, we can do big damage, but everybody's going to have toughness. Into the Fray, not great in this mission. Safe House is an alter ego card for healing. EM Shield is okay. If we want to go into hero mode, this does block damage. And then we have 1 by 1, which is also not going to be great because it says if you defeat a thing, do more damage. But these things have a lot of health. Hey, Austin. Hey, been watching for a few months, but haven't been able to watch a stream live. I think Thunderbolt backup checks whether has more damage on it, not which one has more health. Yeah. But I think it swaps no matter what. This is the thing. Firstly, how's it going? Welcome. This is the thing I'm not sure about because the text on this is not obvious to me. When the round ends, attach the Thunderbolt minion with the most damage. They both have the most damage on it because they both have 0 damage. And I'm assuming because it says swap, we have to swap. We can't choose to leave Radioactive Man engaged with us. That is the way I'm reading it. I don't know if that's necessarily correct, but I'm assuming swap means if there's ever a tie, it will always swap in. And it says swap the minion with the most damage here. I also am assuming that means that it will swap the minion not attached here with the most damage, but that's also probably wrong. Like, I don't know how to word this. Like, this is not very clear to me. I'm assuming if they both have damage, you have to swap. But say Radioactive Man had 3 damage and Batroc had 2 damage, then I'm assuming they wouldn't swap. But it's not very clear. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything more in the rule book about that, but that is like not my favorite. Oh, good point. Yeah, the snare confused me a good amount when I played it. I didn't realize you only had to beat 1 Thunderbolt. Yeah, and then when you beat 1 Thunderbolt, this one just sits here in the corner. It feels like something is not working correctly. I'm not sure if this is the intentions of the designers, but like that is how it currently works. And it's like, it feels strange. This gets 1. Batroc would attack. Now, notably, this is an interrupt. This says when an enemy would attack you, hold on, it schemes instead. So in theory, Batroc would attack us, but stunned, like these cards actually have priority if I'm not mistaken, and stunned says the next time this character would attack discarded. Technically there's a priority hierarchy and I believe status cards go first. So Batroc's attack is foiled, which means that the scheme is also foiled. So nothing happens to us. Our encounter card, we have to watch out for Grant Ward. It is a treachery. So place 1 pursuit counter here and Citizen V is actually going to thwart, or it's going to scheme. Now, it says after you reveal a treachery card. I think that is after the resolution of the treachery card. I'm pretty sure after means after. But Dark Designs means that Citizen V is going to scheme. So it's going to be for 3 and a card. This thing that I've mentioned has already happened twice. This has 4 and a boost icon says discard a card from your hand. Ugh, I'll discard into the fray. So that's 4. So we'll put 3 of that here and then 1 of it on our suit because we have 5 or fewer, or 6 or fewer, excuse me. Now Grant Ward will trigger. I should have checked about having a mental icon. We have a mental icon, so I guess we're just having not a hand to play here. We'll discard Safe House and we'll keep Grant Ward around. End of the round. I'm assuming they swap. Not 100% sure. I'm assuming they do. Citizen V heard you and took it personally. Honestly, yeah. Citizen V's actually been kicking our ass. End of round, Prof X gets discarded. Well, this sucks because this is our hand. We could jump down to Alter Ego if we wanted to. We're on 5, which is good because Radioactive Man will eat 1 of the threat. The problem is when we scheme 2, we take 1 of the threat on Stealth Suit, and then we have 1 of the threat on Stealth Suit, which isn't particularly good. We're also like not encouraged to do chip damage because every time they go here, they take toughness off, right? There's something you can do where you can attack this one, but then they're both on you. But in theory, you can play around the healing by damaging both in the same turn, but that's kind of cursed. So like this turn, if we swap to attack mode, this is after you change form. I don't know the timing on this. I genuinely don't know the timing on this. So check this out. Nick Fury says, oh wait, I can show Nick Fury. Nick Fury says, when you attack, change the assault form. So say we do a basic attack, we have to change the assault form that does 2 damage. And this is after you change form. So I'm assuming this happens after the resolution, which means we could actually, not that one. We could in theory do a bunch of damage and then we'd be stuck in attack form mode. So if we pay this for free, then we can't play the EM shield. So that's the issue, is we only play 1 of these cards. Technically we could play 2 of the 1-costers, but maybe we do some damage. I feel like playing the EM shield is fine. We could also attack with Grant Ward, but and then be in attack mode and just get attacked for 2. I feel like we want to work on some of our stealth counters so that we can flip down and soak because we're on 5. And if we thwart 2, we can choose to take 1. Oh, it's a choice. We might as well, I guess. So if that's the case, we can flip up, attack. Stealth will do 2 damage into assault, and then we can surprise attack. Surprise attack can do up to only... It can only do 6 damage if we want to. That's a lot of damage. But then Radioactive Man's going to stand there. Like, there's no incentive to do chip damage. Because if we attack Radioactive Man for 6 damage, Radioactive Man will be in the Thunderbolt backup healing. And I think he won't swap out because I don't understand the text of this. When the round ends, attach the Thunderbolt minion with the most damage here, swapping it with the minion already attached here. So if there's a minion that's more damaged on the Thunderbolt backup, will it swap out or will it just stay there? I don't know how this works. I think this is maybe more intuitive with multiplayer, but I'm pretty sure they always swap. Otherwise, Radioactive Man is just going to sit in there and heal entirely. I don't know what to do. Because otherwise, there's no reason to attack Radioactive Man. Because if we attack Radioactive Man and do some damage, he will swap in with Batroc. And then Radioactive Man will be the most damage and will stay there. If Radioactive Man is the most damage, I think he stays healing. Then why do you do chip damage? Like, this is so strange to me. When the round ends, attach a Thunderbolt minion with the most damage here. Like, can you attach something that's already attached? I don't know. We have to make a decision on how we rule that. But like, this is not super obvious to me what we should be doing. Can you attach a minion that's already attached there? Because the whole sentence, the rest of the sentence says swapping it with the minion already attached here. So I'm assuming that's implicit that it's the most damaged minion not here. I get really frustrated when the rules are not obvious in a game where the rules should be obvious. That might be obvious if you're watching this. Okay, this hand sucks. We could just dump 2, play the EM shield, mind you, which does damage, because I feel like the way that I'm reading this, we're not incentivized to do damage to Radioactive Man besides blowing him up or likely Batroc up in a single turn, because we don't want Batroc keeping to jump on us. We lose a card a turn and that kind of stinks. So we could attack with Grant Ward, that does the toughness. Then we could attack with Nick. We can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, dropping Radioactive Man down to 11. And then we could do a surprise attack, which could do 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 damage seems like a lot. I think we should just do 15 damage and then just not play the EM shield. And then we can do 16, 17 with 1x1. We're actually very close to killing Radioactive Man on turn 3. So let's try it. We'll attack with Grant Ward. Grant Ward will take the toughness off. Then we'll attack with Nick Fury. When you would attack, change to Assault form. So now we can use any counters from Assault form. So we're going to attack for 2. We're going to use the hand cannon, which gives us +2 to a basic attack. So that is for 4 damage. And then we'll use 3 counters off of this, which is 7 damage. So Radioactive Man drops to 11. Now, we have changed form, so we can play Surprise Attack from our hand. So we'll play Surprise Attack. And Surprise Attack says deal 3 damage to an enemy after you've changed form. We'll make it 5 damage. So this will drop down to 6. And then we'll exhaust Helicarrier to play 1x1, which just does 2 damage. If this defeats an enemy, deal 2 damage. So we're dropping him down to 4. We're now in assault mode, so we will be attacked, which is not terrible. We do have a lot of health, as much as Radioactive Man will kill Grant Ward. That's a bummer. That is how it is. And we'll just draw back up. Just throw damage. We get Concentrated Fire. That's sick. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. So we should be able to shoot Radioactive Man. Yeah. We'll have to deal with the toughness first. We get Looking for Trouble, which searches for a minion, discards until a minion. Covert Surveillance to go back to stealth mode. Looking for Trouble, not great. And an eye patch camera, which we don't really need here. This goes up to 5. Kind of scary if Citizen V actually thwarts. Now, Radioactive Man will actually attack us because we are in hero mode. Sorry, that went up to 5. So Radioactive Man attacks for 2 and a card. We might as well block with Grant Ward because Grant Ward will be destroyed anyways. So 2 and a card. We found Discovered. A really cool obligation. It's basically like Metal Gear where you get spotted and you just lose all your stealth counters and go to assault. It's brutal when it happens, but it's cool that eventually you get caught. And that discards or defeats Grant Ward. Now, Radioactive Man says after it activates, deal 1 damage to each character you control. We get our encounter card. It is down but not out. This is a really cool card. I like the design on this a lot. When revealed, choose a random Thunderbolt minion from the victory display and reveal it. Place damage on the minion until it has 5 hit points remaining. So if you think you've defeated your Thunderbolt, it just comes back on 5 hit points, which is not that much, but that's just kind of sick. Then remove this card from the game if no minion entered this game surge. I think that's a really cool card. Power of the Atom. This is one of the Radioactive Man cards. When revealed, find Radioactive Man and reveal him. If he's already in play, he engages you. Radioactive Man activates against you if no enemy activated this way. This card gains surge. So that's one of the ways, and I think each set has 2 for each of their mega minions. They will just come in from out of play. So Radioactive Man activates for 2 and a card. I think we're not going to do anything here. So this boost adds an icon here. So we're 1 away from our nemesis again, and we're going to take 3 damage. Sorry, 2 damage plus 1 because Radioactive Man activates. So 7, 6, 5. Now they swap. Radioactive Man heals 2 because we're an expert up to 6 and takes a toughness. If we just defeat Radioactive Man, we will basically have no minions to deal with for a while, as much as that is going to be a bit dangerous. So if that's the case, we have to attack to take the toughness off, and then we don't have 6 damage. Shit. We actually might not be able to do it. I just don't know if Radioactive Man comes out or Radioactive Man stands there healing. I don't feel like the card is very clear on what we're supposed to do. We can go to covert mode. We definitely need to be thwarting. Oh, Batroc, sorry, we have to discard a card. When Batroc engages you, discard a card from your hand. We'll get rid of Looking for Trouble. There's like very few minions in the deck. So here we probably just want to play our Eye Patch Camera and play Covert Surveillance and just hang out. That's likely it. And then we'll stay in hero mode and we'll stay in stealth mode. So we'll exhaust Helicarrier for Covert Surveillance. We have 3 of these in the deck. This is one of our cool ways to jump down into stealth mode. Remove 2 threat. If you're in stealth mode, you can put that on assault or on your suit. Otherwise, we can become in stealth mode. Just a guy with a camera. Then we'll play 2 for the Eye Patch Camera, which we can discard this at instant speed as a hero to remove 3 threat that would be placed and put it in our suit instead. And then Nick is going to thwart for 2, dropping this down to 1, and we get 1 on our stealth suit. I think that's it. Pretty straightforward. We won't flip down to alter ego. Eventually we'll have to. And I don't know if Radioactive Man swaps in or not. It seems incredibly important. 1 by 1. Secret Agent. Practice Plan. Cancel. And our resource generator. Nice. We definitely want to be drawing our card. We haven't yet, but we'll find it. And so this goes up 1. Citizen V won't activate. We'll heal 6, but it's a full health, and Batroc will activate. Batroc will scheme for 1 in a card. 2 boost icons, so that's 3. We won't use the Eye Patch Camera. No, we'll keep it for next round. So that means 2 goes here, 1 goes on us. Our encounter card is Coup de Foudre. Coup de Foudre? Foudre is hard to pronounce. I'm not doing a good job. I don't know what that means. Coup is like a hit or a punch or like a bit. When the minion engages a player, that player discards the top X cards of their deck, where X is the number of boost icons on that minion. Usually all of these ones have 4. Place 1 threat here for each printed resource icon discarded this way. That's rough. And now we don't fundamentally understand if this will trigger or not, because I don't get the text on this thing. When the round ends, attach the Thunderbolt minion with the most damage here, swapping it with the minion already attached here. So we swap it with itself. Yes. I don't know. I need to watch what other content creators are doing, because I'm not sure this makes sense to me. Heal 2 damage and give them a tough status card. Let's just say Radioactive Man's on 8. Okay. That means Coup de Foudre is not doing anything. But we can always attack this, and then it will engage us, which means we have to fire this ability. That is 5 threat. That's a lot of threat. Do we just keep stealthing it up? I feel like this is a good stealth it up hand, and we just let this guy heal up forever? That sucks. That's really not good for us, I don't think. Now, if they swapped, this would be at 6 in toughness. We have a little bit of damage in our hand. This can do 4 damage. Our basic attack can do 4 damage. Our basic attack can do 6 damage. So we actually could defeat it. If they swap, we would be able to defeat it. Because this comes in with 6. We just do a 1 by 1. And then we would go ahead and attack for 2, 4, 5, 6. And then we would have no minion. Ah, pain. I don't know how this works. Let me just check the rules real quick. The rules probably explain. Wow, there's really no color. Oh, I did just change there. Okay, Thunderbolt Backup. If Thunderbolt Backup environment on the reverse side of the Justice, like Lightning environment, is put into play during setup with the Thunderbolt minion attached to it. The attached minion is considered to be in play, retains all tokens, status cards, and attachments on it, and can be targeted by attacks and player card abilities. The attached minion does not activate because it's not engaged. However, the forced response in the main scene causes any Thunderbolt minion attacked by a player to engage that player. Okay. The forced interrupt on Thunderbolt Backup attaches the Thunderbolt minion in play with the most damage to environment and heals damage from that minion. In play? Is this in play? Yeah, it says the minion attached here is in play. The forced interrupt on Thunderbolt Backup attaches the Thunderbolt minion in play with the most damage to environment and heals all damage from the minion. If the most damaged minion is already attached, it remains attached and heals. Oh my god, all we had to do is read that sentence. If the most damaged minion is already attached, it remains attached and heals. If an unattached minion has the most damage, okay, I shouldn't have complained that much. I should have just read the book. Reading the text explains the text. Okay. So that is going to stay there forever until we attack it. So doing burst damage is the most important thing. Well, technically now we're not going to have to deal with Batroc's text for a while because we forced a Radioactive Man into recovery, which is maybe kind of cool. We can only thwart 2 this round. That's not good. I think that's not good. So we're probably going to have to get our secret agent suit down, and we're probably just going to have to get ready. So we'll thwart for 2 off the main scheme. We have an acceleration icon here. We go 1 here. We will exhaust the helicarrier to play our resource generator, our spy watch. This thing, we can exhaust it to generate up to 2 mental resources if we take that much off of our suit. So this is Fury's watch. All right, we're definitely going to play intelligence analysis, and then we're going to go play practice plan, which means that when we discard a preparation, we can return it to our hand. These are both preparations, so we'll generate 1 resource by tapping this to go play our title, Secret Agent, which says that after a preparation is discarded, we can return it to our we can remove or move 1 threat from a scheme, which is useful to deal with coup de foudre. I do not like saying that word. That's going to be it. We're probably going to have to use our eye patch camera this round because we might thwart a fair bit. Cards. Resource generator for attack events, not very good in this scenario. Covert surveillance, pretty good. 1 by 1, not great. Covert surveillance, okay. And Psylocke, who is not bad. She can deal with toughnesses. So this goes to 4. Are we going to use eye patch camera when any amount of threat would be placed? No. Batroc is going to scheme for 1 and a card. Boost is 2, 3, so that's 3 scheme. So technically this would go up to 6 and we would go up to 3. We can just eye patch camera here. We can also keep it for a rainy day. I feel like I'm kind of rainy day pilled. And hope that we draw something we can cancel. So it's 3. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll put this to 6. We go up to 3. Encounter card. Down but not out. When revealed. So we can just go ahead and cancel this. This card doesn't do anything, but it means we can fire 2 threat off of the main scheme or the side scheme. And we can return an end. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. We're just going to cancel this. So we'll do intelligence analysis. This is not the highest, like, I'm not sure how conservative we have to be with this card, but we're going to discard it. When you reveal treachery, which we did, discard intelligence analysis and remove 1 from our suit, cancel the effects of that treachery card and discard it. So this is discarded. And Secret Agent says after you resolve the ability on preparation, move 1 threat from a scheme to your suit form upgrade. I think we'll slowly work on this. Then this practice plan says that when we discard preparation, we can discard this to add that card to our hand. And this is also preparation, so we can add 1 from a scheme to our suit. Okay, cool. That gives us +1 hand size, and we're set up. We can't clear this unless we play Psylocke. We're definitely going to replay this because this is like very, very good for us. Covert surveillance means we can clear this. So actually we probably should do 1 from here instead and put this on 4 because it'll be a better breakpoint for us. Because Nick is going to thwart for 2. That puts 1 on the suit. Unfortunately, we'll have too much on the suit, but we'll then spend it with Fury's watch because we want to have at least, at least less than 6 on here. Do we play Psylocke? That'll be... I think we can play Psylocke. So we're going to exhaust the helicarrier. We're going to exhaust Fury's watch to generate, I think, just 1. And we'll throw out 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, we can have another resource and keep this in our hand. But that means we can't play both of these, so that's fine. So we'll pay 4. Play Psylocke. Comes up with 2 psionic counters. 3 health. Her ability is pretty powerful. Because this will stop things from activating. When Psylocke attacks an enemy, remove a psionic counter to confuse that enemy and deal 1 damage to it. So that's pretty good, because if it's confused, it won't activate, as much as that actually robs some of our abilities from firing. We'll attack with Psylocke, and we'll use the counter. So it'll do 1 damage for the toughness, then 1 damage to do 1 damage, and then it'll confuse. Notably, that means Batroc has 1 health, 1 damage, and Radioactive Man has 10. So Radioactive Man, I think we forgot to heal Radioactive Man. That seems important. Has to heal 2 every round. I think we did forget that. Then we'll play Covert Surveillance for Covert Surveillance, remove 2 threat, and that threat will go here, which is obnoxious because we're at 6. That's fine. I guess that's fine. That's okay. Because we have a confuse. It's not going to be really important. We'll just use a lot of Fury's Watch next round, and that should be it. All right, we're stealthing it. We got concentrated fire, so we can maybe take a crack shot at Radioactive Man. We have Power of Aggression, generates 2 for aggression cards. We found the car, super important. Surprise attack. That's nice. We can use Psylocke to remove the toughness and then flip up and do a lot of damage, especially because we can make sure that it does extra damage because we have a physical. And then Maria Hill, which we haven't hit the table yet, but she's not bad at all. This goes up to 6. Batroc would attack, but instead, because we're in stealth, would thwart, but the confuse comes off instead, and we draw an encounter card, which we can cancel. It is Parcours du Combattant. Surge. When revealed, each player engages the minion, engages the player clockwise from them. I'm pretty sure intelligence analysis says that we cancel all effects from the card, so I think we also cancel Surge. Now, that's strange. Not a great use of it. It does remove one threat. I want to always keep intelligence analysis around until we get our copies of practice plan. We have one more coming up in the deck, so we can at least use that maybe on the eye patch camera. So I will cancel this, which means we can use our stealth suit to grab one of these. And we'll just cancel all that. Heals for 2. So we probably want to blast off this turn. I think we don't play Maria Hill here. I think we're going to pitch Maria Hill. So let's start by attacking with Psylocke. So Psylocke is going to attack for 1 and 1. So that does 1 damage to toughness and 1 damage to Radioactive Man. Radioactive Man will now engage us. So we now have 2 Thunderbolts engaged with us. That's the text here on Apprehending Rogue Agents. Now we're probably going to flip up an attack. The question is, how much damage do we have in our hand? Nick can attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we can do 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we can definitely kill Radioactive Man. Oh, Radioactive Man's also confused. That confuse is kind of useless, but I don't think it's going to be too bad from us. So now we have to jump up from our stealth mode to do massive damage. We could do concentrated fire if we want to. I don't think we're going to need to. So I think Nick is just going to pop up here. The question is whether we want to get our car down first and scheme for 2. I think we do. So I think Nick can scheme for 2, which means we get 1 in the suit. Then we'll exhaust Helicarrier. And then we'll just throw at Maria to play our car. And then we'll say car like it's such a Canadian. We'll exhaust the car to ready Nick. Now Nick will attack, which throws us into assault mode. And so we'll attack for 1, 2. We'll move 3 counters from here. So 7 goes down to 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll use our gun to give it 7 overkill. So that drops 11 down to 4. Now we flipped up, so we can do just a surprise attack. So it says after you change forms, deal 4 damage if you use a physical resource, and we will. And so that will just defeat Radioactive Man. Goes into the victory display, so could come back in theory. We saw 2 of the cards that do that, so I'm assuming that won't happen again. In theory here, we have some extra counters, which is fine. I want to be able to flip down. It actually might have been better that we flip down. I'd rather be in stealth mode here. So instead of doing, instead of playing power aggression for a surprise attack, we'll pitch these 2 for concentrated fire. I think we only had to do 4 damage. So this does 4 damage. And this one says, after this defeats an enemy, either jump back to stealth form. Whoop. And now we're just disappearing back into the night. We had the resource generator here, which I don't think we needed. We, in theory, actually could have used the resource generator to save 2 resources to play the surprise attack and hit Batroc for some damage, but Batroc's just gonna run away. Batroc just stops mattering, which is very strange. That's it. We're gonna deck out, draw 5 cards, get an encounter card, shuffle our deck. Psylocke activated, yeah, so we can't get her back into the discard pile. All right, so we definitely have one of our practice plan in our hands. So if we use eye patch camera, it comes with a cost. But now at this point, we just need to defeat Citizen V. And currently we have on the table 7 attack into 3 attack. We can do 10 damage this turn. So if we can figure out how to do 6 damage with our hand, we should be able to blow up Citizen V. Shouldn't be a problem. There's a chance we'll get our Nemesis into play, which I don't think is going to matter because we can easily do 16 damage to Citizen V. And there's no side to this Nemesis. You just have to defeat 1 minion and then 1 Citizen V. Okay, so our hand is really quickly Angela, which is free 2 damage, energy, practice plan, and then Gemma. So we actually have no damage in our hand besides Angela, so we might have to hold on another turn. This goes to 4. Citizen V would activate, but because there is a Thunderbolt, doesn't, and Batroc would attack, but schemes instead, so for 1 in a card. This is a boost icon, so we go ahead and hit this to 4, which means we're going to go get our Nemesis, but Batroc schemes for now 1, which we just eat that 1. We get our Nemesis, it comes into play. Oh, sorry, I covered all of that. Excuse me, I was meant to pull out. But we drew Dark Designs, which is boost icon says, after this activation, place 1 counter in pursuit by the past. Now, this is important because this happens during the villain phase, during the activation phase. So Orion will actually activate against us, which I don't think we mind so much. So 6 health, Orion comes in. This is what happens sometimes, mind you, with standard 3. That this can happen at the worst time possible during the activation. So attacking for 2, scheming for 2, can have any number of tough statuses, and after he takes damage, we add another tough status. We also get this, which is a bit annoying. So we don't want to take damage from this, but we can't because we're not going to be attacked. So this is Acquire Infinity Formula Scheme. Comes in with 5 threat and acceleration, or sorry, an amplify, and it says, after Nick Fury takes the amount of damage, bring back Orion or give Orion a tough status card. So, not great. Now, Orion will activate, but because Orion is wearing our stealth suit, more accurately, Orion will scheme for 2. So we can go ahead and just take that off with eye patch camera, or we can just put 1 here and then 1 on us, because we have 5 or less. Our 2 encounter cards, we can't cancel these. This could be bad for us. First card, Under Fire, Surge. Reveal the top card in the counter deck. Well, that's a good one to cancel. So we draw 2 more cards, so it replaces itself +1. This is going to be a bad time for us. Innocent Bystanders. Oh, this card's really cool. 4 counters. After you attack an enemy or an enemy attacks you, either spend a resource of any type or place 1 threat on the main scheme, and then you remove a counter here. So it seems like we're fighting in an airport, so we just have to be careful that we don't let other people get hurt. I don't think I've seen this before. Citizens V's Saber or Citizen V's Sword. Attached to Citizen V, he activates against you. Uh-oh. Well, that's fairly bad. Luckily, we have our eye patch. And hero response, after you attack and damage Citizen V, spend 2 physical resources to discard this, and it gives him +1 and +1. So Citizen V is going to activate against us, which is going to be for scheming 4 in a card. That's a lot. We have no way to remove scheme immediately, but 4 in a card. This has 5, and it says discard a card from your hand. This is, what is this? We have 2 more boost cards. What? Why am I holding? Oh, this. What the heck am I holding? Oh, we have to shuffle these in. Excuse me. Hold on. We forgot to shuffle these in before we did Surge, the other cards for Orion. So technically we didn't have to draw this card. We could have drawn some other cards. Yeah, so we messed up. We should have shuffled in the Nemesis set before we drew cards. Regardless, now we have to discard a card from our hand. That was super confusing. So that means we can get rid of Gemma, I'm pretty sure. But now Citizen V is scheming for 3, 4, 5, which will put us at 11, which is a lot. So we can't take any of that because we're over on 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to discard eye patch camera. And it says when any amount of threat will be placed on the main scheme. Oh, sorry, it's 1 more. It's 6. We'd actually lose. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when any amount of threat will be placed on the main scheme, discard eye patch camera, place 3 of that threat onto your suit form instead. So this goes up to 9, and then we only put 3 here. Pretty frightening, genuinely. And then if this is another activation, we're probably cooked. Tap in. Win reveal. Engage the Thunderbolt minion with the least... Oh, hold on. We can do this. We did a preparation, so we can grab 1 from here and put it on us. Engage the Thunderbolt minion with the least damage that is not engaged with you. That minion activates against you. If no minion activates this way, Citizen V activates against you. Oh, we lose. Yeah, we lose. That feels bad. Citizen V schemes for 4 in a card. Place a pursuit counter. So that's 5. So we hit 12. Yeah, we lose. Fuck. Drawing 4 encounter cards was bad. How much was on here when the round started? Ugh. So what would happen now is really strange. Like Batroc will enter here. And now Batroc is here. Batroc will never leave here. And all we have to do is defeat Citizen V, which is 16. Now, every time that we attack, we technically have to deal with the innocent bystanders, which actually will slow us down a bit. But we actually did get defeated to Citizen V, which I've never run into that so far. But yeah, being in stealth suit was actually a huge problem for us because Citizen V activated twice at 4 scheme each. Like that is just a lot. There's no way around that not being a problem. 449. We can run this back. At least we know how it works, which means we'll be less curmudgeonly about it. Apologies if we're getting a bit salty. All right, we've been humbled. We'll throw it back. I think doing the burst damage and keeping Batroc on us was actually probably pretty good. Because then we didn't have to deal with Radioactive Man over and over again. Maybe that's kind of cool. Run luck, I guess Citizen V really did that personally. Very much so. Like that was so much threat all at once. Like having the sword come in and activate against you is, you know, that's a lot. We drew our Nemesis, which is like this amplify actually did matter. Just added 2 threat, which is actually what we need. So the fact that we got our minion, which activated into Citizen V, activating twice into an amplify, that is what got us. So I don't think that is going to happen that often, but it was really quite bad. That's for sure. We did also mess it up. There was a chance that we were meant to draw these instead of drawing the whatever encounter cards we did draw. So it could have been on us. We could have drawn something better because we were meant to shuffle these soldiers back into the deck before we drew our bunch of encounter cards. We did just goof it there. So that's on us. All right, we'll try that again. We'll use the same minions. So Radioactive Man and Batroc, both 16 toughness and 18 toughness. It is goofy how much burst damage we can do in a single turn. Like that feels cool where you pop off out of the shadows and just do an absurd amount of damage. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We start with Batroc. Radioactive Man is hanging in the wings, 16 health. When Batroc engages you, does that fire? No, because I don't think you draw a hand before this engages you. I think you do setup and then you draw your hand. So I don't think that will actually fire because that's part of setup. And when you set up, you don't have a hand, if I'm not mistaken. We should clear that. Yeah, that was wild. That was a lot of threat all at once. That's like the hard thing. And I think this scenario, like the last 3 scenarios, sorry, the last scenario with M.O.D.O.K, Citizen V, and then the next scenario as well, the villains have like Scheme 3, Scheme 3, Scheme 4, sometimes Scheme 5, which is really difficult for Nick to stay in alter ego, or sorry, stay in stealth mode, let alone alter ego. That's never that easy for you. Cool. Okay. Just give us a little pile shuffle. I don't know if we actually what we should do in this scenario, because we're aware what the scenario is. We should cut 3 cards from our deck, and I have no doubt the 3 cards we're cutting are these Into the Phrase. It's 3 for 6, which is not fantastic, but if it defeats a thing, we remove threat. But in this scenario, it's not very good. This will put us on 40 cards, which is what we want, but these are really dead cards in this matchup, so this will make us have a better matchup for sure. I'm just going to count that we have 40 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have between 40 and 50. And in theory, most hero decks are better. Most hero cards, your 15 hero cards are better than your aspect cards. It's not always entirely true. I feel like in this deck, half of them are, half of them aren't. But generally, you're incentivized. Let's hope that's 40. How does he? I messed up the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 4, 5. 2, 3. Yeah, that's good. Another thing that actually showed up. Do you need to play all your hero cards? No, but usually they're like very, very good. So I don't know if you're going to see this on camera, but I swear I can tell this. You see the color of this card? Every once in a while, the back of the cards changes color. Like, this will be hard to tell. This is a really old card. This is a new card. And the back of the old cards is slightly more purple. You can tell. My card backs are not all the same. Now, I don't pay enough attention, but like, I don't know if they went to different printers or I don't know where these cards came from. They're not sun-baked, but some of the older printing cards I have a different colored card back. And for clear sleeves, obviously that's an issue, but you can tell the one on the right is a fair bit more purple than the one on the left, which is more blue. I think that shows up on camera. I don't know if it makes it through streaming, but it's weird. Hey, Carrie. Yeah, you definitely don't need to play all of them, but they're generally pretty good. They're often over curve and incredibly synergistic with one another. Yeah, weird. I don't know if I'm the only person with that, but like you can tell. Like I know this is a purple card. This is going to be an older card. It is. I can keep going. This is a purple card. It'll be an older card. Yeah, it's Helicarrier from the core set. Very weird. Again, I don't look at my deck, so I can't really tell when I draw. I wish you didn't tell me about that card back. Yeah, me too. I wish I didn't know, but I can tell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is an older card. Yeah, it's the Helicarrier again. Cannot unsee it. It's a really cursed problem to fix. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the Helicarrier, of course. We have 2 Looking for Troubles, which are not really playable in this scenario. There's just not a lot of minions. This discards cards until we hit a minion to remove 3 threat. Helicarrier is good. Covert Surveillance is not fantastic on turn 1 because there's only 1 threat on the table. Professor X is not great, and Hand Cannon is like, we could keep it. I'd rather just draw into some of our good preps than our good tech cards, so I'll get rid of that. Let alone, we want a resource to play Helicarrier cheaply. 1 by 1, Car, sick. Gemma, can play Gemma. We haven't played Gemma so far. Feel good about that. Watch, sick. Give us a resource. No. Okay, we have to make some good decisions here. So Gemma is cool. I want to build decks all around Gemma, and you can. This is not the best Gemma deck. I want to play defense and play all the tech cards, but we play her for only 1 because we're shield traded on both sides of our identity, and she generates a resource a turn for tech cards, and most of our deck is tech cards. So we definitely can play Gemma for 1. That means we probably don't play Helicarrier, which is a bummer, but we have 2 tech cards in our hand, and they're both very, very, very playable. Fury's Watch we can play for free because we can always generate 1 counter and then use that basically to pay for the next card we play. So we could pitch 1 for Gemma, play Gemma. We could flip to Nick Fury side. Thwart 2. Fury's Flying card. We don't need to use Fury's Flying card because it's not worth a lot. So we probably do still play it, but I think we can play all of this. I think if we had a double, this would be a lot easier to play, but we'll get there. All right, sucks to not play Helicarrier on turn 1. Because the other idea is we can play like Helicarrier like this. Play Helicarrier, use Helicarrier to play Fury's Watch. Can't play this. Great turn 1 setup. Yeah, it's I wish we had one. If we had 1 double, we'd be golden because we actually could play Helicarrier. But I'm going to try the Gemma line instead. So we'll pitch Prowess, another resource generator for Gemma. So resource generate a mental icon for a tech card. We will flip, mind you, we start on Assault, but we'll flip to Stealth for sure. And then we'll flip it with Nick. Nick will thwart 2, which puts 1 on the Stealth suit. We'll use Gemma to play the Watch, which we can exhaust the Watch to generate up to resources, up to 2 resources for each thing that we take off the Stealth. Mind you, Fury's Watch. Cool spy theme. It's a tech, so it's free. And then we can either hold the Helicarrier or we can pitch 2 cards to... We definitely want to play the car. Either we pitch 2 for the car or we use 1 to play the car and we hold the Helicarrier. It's a bit greedy, but I feel like we want to be a bit greedy here. I feel like with only scheming for 1 in the card, we can set up a bit, especially because we keep losing cards to this guy. And so having resource generators on the table seems important in this matchup. So I'll lose this and play 1 for Fury's Flying car. Now, in theory, if we could use Fury's Flying car to wake Nick, we would use Nick again, but Nick really doesn't have much to do on this turn. And it costs a thing to operate it. And then we'll just hold on to the Helicarrier. Ideally, we play the Helicarrier next turn. It's not a tech. Oh, if that's the case, we should probably hold the Flying card for next turn. That would be better. Yeah, because we can play that cheaper next turn because it's a tech. That's important. So if that's the case, oh, we can't play the Helicarrier. There's no way around unless we throw out the car. That stinks because we can generate 1, 2, 3, but then we throw out the Helicarrier. Wonder if there's a better setup where we actually get the Helicarrier down. Let's try this again. Rewind. So this was our hand. Is there any way we get through this puzzle? So if we play 1, 2, no, there's no way to play everything. Yeah, we'll just commit to doing what we're doing, and then we'll just have the Flying car on the table. Gemma, Nick is exhausted. We have the Watch exhausted, and we'll just hold the Helicarrier. But hopefully we'll draw a tech next turn because Gemma could have played the car cheaper. There's just no way to do all of that I can see. All right, 1 card, 2 tech card, gun. Practice plan, nice to get that early. Concentrated fire is not going to matter, and a strength. So we're probably just going to continue to set up on this round. The only thwarting we can do is we can thwart 4 with Nick by redding Nick, which is pretty good. Oh, we don't have this. And that'll be it. We put 1 on Rogue Agents. Citizen V heals 6. Batroc schemes for 1 in the card. 2, 3. So 2 goes here. 1 goes on our suit. We draw an encounter card. It's Sinister Strike. Shit. So we place 1 pursuit counter here. And the villain would attack, but Citizen V doesn't attack. Citizen V schemes. So that's for 3 in a card. Boost, take 2 indirect damage, power the atom. We're down to 8. So that means Citizen V is putting 2 here, 1 on us. So that's not too bad. And then they do the swippity swap. So we probably want to do a bunch of damage to one of them just so it stays pinned down on Thunderbolt backup. That's actually kind of cool. I think that is neat. Okay, I think we're just going to use Nick to thwart. So this goes to 3, this goes down to 3. Then we ready, which takes 1 off of this. It's convoluted. You don't have to do all this flipping. This goes to 1, this goes to 3. Great. We can easily exhaust Gemma. So let's go ahead and play 1, 2, 3 for the Helicarrier. So Helicarrier's in. That gets a resource a turn, or more actively lets you play a card 1 cheaper, which does actually have implications. We can now exhaust Helicarrier and generate 1 from the Watch to play gun. Sorry, not from the Watch, from Gemma to play gun. And then we'll just play practice plan, which does nothing, but when we discard a preparation, it will come back. That's a good setup. That's a really good turn too. And then we'll just pass. 5 cards. We want good preps now. Now we got a genius. We got a 1x1. Not fantastic. We got a good prep, the cancel treachery prep, which we can play twice. Safe house. I think the worst card in our deck by a mile. And Psylocke, not bad at all. as well. And we have some research generators, so the 4-coster won't be that expensive. This goes to 2. Radioactive Man schemes for 1 in a card because we're stealth suited. We have no triggers. 1, 2, 3. So 2 goes here, 1 goes on us, and after Radioactive Man activates, everybody takes a damage. Encounter card. Power of the Atom. Find Radioactive Man and reveal him. Radioactive Man activates against you if no enemy activates. So Radioactive Man schemes again for 1 in a card. We're getting beat up here. 2, 3. So 2 goes here, 1 goes on us, and we take a damage from radioactivity. Swap. Okay, so we're getting a bit of hurt. When Batroc engages you, discard a card from your hand. I'll just throw out... Actually, I'll throw out 1 by 1. There's no shot we're playing that. Our hand has no techs, which is a bit of a bummer. We can stun Batroc, which is not bad. We have a bunch of research generators, but no tech. There's no shot that we don't play intelligence analysis, so we have 1 cancel and counter card, and we can bring it back with practice plan. We're on 5 threat, which means we should use some of our threat on our suit to play cards. So I think we're going to do Helicarrier for 1. Furious Watch will use 2 counters off of it maybe, and then 3, 4 we'll play Psylocke. Comes in with 3 health and 2 psionic counters. We could technically stun Citizen V, or confuse Citizen V. I think we'd rather confuse Batroc. So we will attack with Psylocke, use her ability. So it does 1 off the toughness, 1 here, and does a confuse, which means we won't get activated on. Technically here we could pop up and do some more damage, but I don't think we do. This card is left over in her hand. That's its job. Its job is to be left over in hand. Silly safe house. I think if you play you can play a tech version of this in Justice and you bring out sonic rifles and flip down a rot, and then safe house is probably really good, but we are barely flipping down. Nick, scheme for 2, or thwart for 2. This goes to 4. We will ready with the car. This goes to 3 and then goes back to 4 after we thwart again, and this goes down to 2. A lot of movement, not a lot of forward progression. We'll just throw this out. Keep going. We're set up to do our burst turn just about next turn, because we'll be able to hand cannon when an enemy attacks, yeah. So we'll probably do a push here. Maria, maybe we'll play her by now. She's good. Surprise attack, so we can start doing some burst damage, especially because Psylocke is really good at taking tough off. Grant Ward, nice, cheap. Power of Aggression lines up not well with her hand, but it generates a wild for a surprise attack. And then a Concentrated Fire is another good attack, which could jump us back into stealth if we defeat something, which is pretty hard in this scenario. Do we have any techs in our hand? No. Bummer, Gemma. This goes to 3. This will attack, but it's confused. That's a weird sentence, but that's technically accurate. And we'll reveal a card. It is a bad treachery. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because this is under fire. And I'm pretty sure intelligence analysis cancels all parts of the effect. So we cancel the surge too. So we'll cancel it, return it to our hand with practice plan. We don't have our spy thing, but we're okay just getting rid of that. And then these swap, which means he heals to 16 and gains a toughness again. Radioactive Man is in front of us. Let's blow up some Radioactive Man. That worked before, probably can work again. So if that's the case, we're going to start with Psylocke. Psylocke is going to attack for 1 and 1, taking the tough off and getting Radioactive Man a bit of damage and a very important confuse. This means that we can flip up and do a ton of damage. Now we can attack twice, or we can keep some counters on top of us. We probably actually used too many counters last turn because we had the confuse, and we want some amount of counters. So I think we just want to do as much burst damage as we can, which luckily our hand is pretty good at that. We want to play Maria Hill. She can thwart 2 to give us a counter, but ideally we play Grant, we play this, that's free. We'll play this, which means we have 1, 2, 3 to play Maria. I think we do want Maria in play, but Maria Hill gets eaten by Radioactive Man slowly. But Radioactive Man will be on the bench for a bit. So we're definitely playing Grant, who comes in for free, and if Grant reveals a treachery card and we don't pay, Grant Ward does turn on us. I'm not sure the flavor here, but I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is. Okay. We definitely play our cancel a treachery card. Oh, we are meant to remove 1 threat when we use that. Excuse me. You have to remove a threat from your suit to use this thing. It's part of the cost. Very important because we're going to use that threat this turn. So unless we want to attack twice, we're technically always allowed to thwart 3 for free. I think we're not going to attack. I think we are going to attack twice, actually. We want to get Radioactive Man down low because we can technically attack for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 when we attack again. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We can defeat Radioactive Man if we don't mess this up. Yeah, okay. Grant Ward will attack for 2. Radioactive Man goes down to 15. We will attack, which flips us into stealth mode. Oh, we have more damage than I think we do because we have the hand cannon. We'll use the hand cannon. So Nick is attacking for 2, 3, 4. We'll use only 2 counters from this, which is 5, 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this drops down to 9. The reason why we're keeping a counter is because we can use the counter to ready ourselves, and that is technically better than 1 extra damage because another activation is +2. So that's on 9. We'll exhaust the flying car to remove a threat from your suit to ready Nick. Nick technically gains the aerial trait, which we have no cards that care about that. One of the villains or one of the minions can care about aerial, which is kind of cool. Andre, are you winning? Super now. We got bested the last time we did this, but we're in a good spot right now. So I think so, but I can't be too cocky about it. Then we'll attack for 2. Wait, do we have enough damage? This goes down to 7. Oh, because we were meant to do this, mind you. When we change forms, we'll surprise attack. That was meant to go before that last attack. Maybe we're short a couple damage. And this says after you change forms, and suit change is technically a form change, and we play a wild, which we can make a physical. This will do 4 damage, so that drops down to 3. Yeah, we have enough damage. Oh no. Hold on. So I messed the math up. So the first attack we were meant to do, we were meant to use 1 fewer charge on our suit. So that would do 1 fewer damage. But that actually really matters because now we can use this to generate 1, and then we can do this to generate 1 to play concentrated fire. And then we can choose what to do with concentrated fire. It deals 4 damage, which will defeat this, which is good. And then we can either decide to get 1 counter on our thing, on our suit, or go back to stealth mode. On stealth mode, Citizen V will scheme against us, which is for 3 and a card. And we have no way to interact with that favorably. Yeah, we'll go stealth mode. I think we'd actually rather get attacked because we can block with Grant Ward or Psylocke. Yeah, we'll just stay in assault mode. How many cards do we have to jump back into stealth? We've only drawn 1 surveillance. So I think we will stay on this mode and assume that we'll draw a card that will throw us back into stealth. Oh, we could have done Helicarrier. Oh, so we didn't need to do that. That's fine. Technically, we could have 1 counter here. I don't think that's important. So I will instead gain 1 stealth counter because we defeated Radioactive Man, and Radioactive Man had 1 scheme. All right, and this is where the scenario gets strange because in theory, Batroc won't engage us unless we draw an encounter card or choose to attack it. Now Citizen V no longer has guard, which is kind of important, and now we just have to do 16 damage. Let's see how this goes. We will change and stay in assault because last time we lost to not staying in assault. Angela draws a minion, maybe. Probably not going to happen. Power of aggression. We have surprise attack, so if we change to stealth and change back, we really want to draw a counter surveillance thing here. 1 by 1 is damage. And we have an EM shield. So unfortunately, we drew no damage in our hand. Sorry, no way to jump back into stealth form besides just going to alter ego. This goes to 4. And now Citizen V will activate against us. It's for 2 and a card. I'll block with Psylocke. So 2 and a card. Excuse me. This has 2 boost icons. So that's 4 damage. Psylocke is defeated. We reveal a treachery. We can cancel it. So I think Grant Ward won't pop off, but it is not a treachery, it's an obligation. This is innocent bystanders. It says after you attack an enemy or an enemy attacks you, you either put a threat on the main scheme or pay 1 resource, and then you remove 1 bystander. So that's a really easy thing to forget. A really cool design. I think that's actually quite flavorful. And it's back to us. That's not a treachery, it's an obligation, so we can't discard it. So this actually might be a good turn to like thwart 4 and hop down. I think that'd be pretty reasonable. We can't get into our stealth suit, so we can't play surprise attack. I don't want to play Angela because there's like no minions in the deck, and so she'll just whiff. After enter play, search the top 10 for a minion. There's actually 1 minion, I think. I think Jolt is the 1 minion, but that seems unlikely. So this hand is not fantastic. We can't do anything with extra resources, so we're just going to waste some time here. Now, notably, this Thunderbolt doesn't come out. It just stays there. That's just how it works, and that's really strange. This is what I was worried was going to happen the last time we played this. Now, we could actually attack Citizen V just to spend some resources on Innocent Bystander. That actually could make sense. And it says after you attack an enemy or an enemy attacks you, you is the hero, so it won't fire off Grant. So at first, we'll thwart for 2. That puts 1 on the suit. We'll ready with the car. Grant Ward with thwart for 2? No, yeah, because we can go down and we can heal full. Or we can attack and deal with Innocent Bystander. I think attacking and dealing with Bystander is better because we have extra resources in our hand, and it's a good time to deal with those. It's after you attack, so we can actually play some of these attacks as well. So why don't we? Let's pitch 1 for 1/1. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. We won't boost damage. And it says after you attack an enemy or enemy attacks you, spend a resource. We'll spend 1 resource. Get rid of 1 counter. We could attack again. This we can play for free, so we will. I think we will attack again. Oh no, we exhaust. No, that was an event. So then we'll attack 1 more time. Yeah, I just want to get rid of this. So this goes down to 2. I might as well just use the hand cannon. In theory, Citizen V could heal, so that's more damage. And then we'll discard a resource to get rid of the bystanders. Grant Ward for safety will scheme 2. We'll flip down. We can generate for a tech card and generate for the next card, and we'll play EM Shield for free, which doesn't really matter when we're in Alter Ego, but we have a free block. And then we'll flip our suit to stealth form. We don't have to. It doesn't matter. We can always do it next turn. But we only do an Alter Ego. All right, just 10 more damage, which maybe we should have got charges on our suit so we can do more burst, but we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, 9 damage maybe next turn. I wish we draw some damage cards. So we have Secret Agent, a bit too late for this. That's some threat management. Covert Surveillance, that could just charge up our suit, which is good, which does more damage. Looking for Trouble is some mitigation of threat. Eye Patch Camera, some threat stuff. And Spray Fire, more damage. That's very playable. And then another Spray Fire, which is a bit too much. Okay, we put 1 here. Because we went to Alter Ego, none of our text is going to activate, but Citizen V now schemes for 3 in a card. Sorry, boost icons is 2, so that's 5. That's a lot. So we could technically lose here in theory if we draw another activation. That would be pretty sad. Down but not out. When revealed, choose a random Thunderbolt minion, set aside and put into play with you. That's not good. Place 5 health on it. That's a really fun card. But this intelligence analysis can just work here because it's not even a hero activation. We can just reveal analysis, remove 1 threat from your suit. It's good that we had that, and then just discard the treachery. So we're not going to do that. Oh, that's the wrong card. That's another card that just came out in the set. A lot of intelligence in the set. And that's that. Okay. All we have to do is 10 damage. Batroc stays here and heals. So we have to do 10 damage. We didn't reveal Treachery after you reveal Treachery. And what does this say? When you reveal Treachery, discard it, remove 1 threat from the suit form upgrade, cancel this effect. So we still did reveal it. I will play a science icon. So it could be Covert Surveillance, or Grant Ward can punch us. Technically, Covert Surveillance is worth 2 threat, which is worth 3 attack. So I'll discard Grant Ward, I think, instead. After you reveal Treachery, you may spend a mental resource. If you do not take damage equal to Grant Ward's attack, so we go down to 4 and remove from the game. Give me 1 second. Oh, hold on. I have to take a call after this. We'll just finish in 1 moment. Cool. This is that. And from here, what are we doing? So we just need to do 10 damage. Nick can attack for 1, 2, 3, 4. If we get a threat on here, we can go again. Do we even have enough damage? Oh, we can do Covert Surveillance, which will give us 2, which will give us a ready and will give us an extra damage. So that means we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we just have to do 3 damage, which 1 Spray Fire will get us there. Do we have enough resources is the question. I'm not sure. We have to do the math though, because if we mess this up, it's GG for sure. So I don't think Grant Ward was worth keeping because we can do Helicarrier to do Covert Surveillance, which removes 2 threat. If you're in stealth form, we can put it on our suit. So that means we'll be on 2 stealth form suit. Then we can attack. We can take 1 off, which means we attack for 5. And then we can ready, which means we can attack for 7. And then we just have to pay 3 damage. Yeah, we have it. So we'll flip to our stealth suit. We'll flip up to Nick. We'll play Covert Surveillance, remove 2 threat from a scheme. If you're in stealth suit, you may place that threat on your suit instead. Okay. So this is on 2. We have nothing else to do with stealth mode, so Nick will go for an attack, which forces to flip up. So we're attacking for 2. We'll use the hand cannon, which attacks for 2 more. And then we'll use 1 charge, which does 1 more. So we're attacking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That hits Citizen V for 5. Then we'll exhaust the Fury's Flying card to remove 1 threat. To wake up Nick. Nick will attack for 2, which drops to 3. And then we'll just pitch 1, 2, 3 for a Spray Fire. which says choose a player, deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion and engage with that player that does this. That's that. That's how it usually goes. The last one we got pretty blown out, I'll be honest. But very strange how this thing here just stays there and we can't ignore it. Now, technically this went up twice because we did attack. Technically up 3 times, but that's still not a problem. So it goes up to 7, which is totally fine. Okay, we got there. Nice. GG, thank you. Yeah, the burst damage you can do in Aggression Nick is pretty wild, and you can definitely race down villains. I feel like that's a thing that I've noticed in a lot of the scenario design in this box, is that a lot of them have, like, once you get to a state, you can just burst them down, and it feels like they don't have a lot of, like, mitigation. Like, I wish just about every villain in this box had, when you complete something, give them a tough status card. Like, honestly, that would go really far for me. It was the same thing in the last scenarios. Like, once we freed the last thing in the chain and from the locked prison, all we had to do was like do 10 damage, you win. And it just feels like so many of the scenarios are like that. Same with Batroc. It's just like, well, that one's different because it's like as soon as you reveal the last person, just thwart 12 and it's over. And you can easily thwart 12 on a turn if you like really set your mind to it in most decks. And then suddenly an entire phase of the villain just doesn't exist. I just kind of wish that when this left, you got a toughness on Citizen V so that you can rush as hard. Or if there's no villain, like if there was no person engaged with you, I wish that Citizen V got a toughness every turn. Just something like that. Because it's so strange when this keeps happening. And so I kind of wish there was a reason to like re-engage this. And there's not, unless you play campaign mode or you draw one of the 2 cards in the whole deck that tell you to do that. The Batroc the Leaper, which just doesn't happen a lot. Like there's probably wouldn't show up. Anywho, it did get late, huh? Like 5:16. That's gonna be it for the stream today. Thanks so much for hanging out. I'm still not sure about this box. We're gonna be playing more of it, but this deck is generally pretty cool. I need to figure out what to cut from the deck. I do think we do remove the 2 side schemes for sure. Into the Phrase actually make a lot of sense, but into the scenario with minions, which this one doesn't have as much, but other ones do. Then the question is, what 3 cards do we cut? I think it's probably Looking for Troubles. I don't think we've wanted to play them. They seem really good, and like we don't mind minions being attached to us, but I feel like we haven't had a problem finding minions on turns that we want them. I think we've only played one Looking for Trouble once. So it might depend on the scenarios you're playing, but this deck actually seems pretty fun. That's it. Thanks so much for hanging out. Mind you, we uploaded a video this morning if you want to check it out. I think it turned out quite good. I was like kind of upset about it because I was editing through it. It was like our 3rd time trying to deal with Apocalypse on Aggression on Expert, and Apocalypse is one of my favorite villains. And 3rd time we went pretty well. And then I realized on like the last 2 turns, we made 2 rules mistakes, which like just kind of feels bad that we got so far and didn't make significant rules mistake until like an hour and 20 in. And it's just how it is. Like rules mistakes always happen, that's for sure. And it's just kind of a bummer of solo play. Adios, enjoy the night. Thank you for all those who are playing some districts tonight or tonight even in APAC. Good luck out there playing some Netrunner. Otherwise, if you're going to be in Montreal tomorrow, we have a district we're running. We'll see you there. If you want to leave a like on the video, that helps a heck of a lot. We'll see you in the next one. Take care, y'all. Ciao.